Welcome everybody to LTMB Live. Let the madness begin. As always, I'm Will Gaillard.
And I'm Mike White.
What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone is feeling all right on this Tuesday evening, afternoon, you know, depending on where you are in the world.
Hope y'all had a nice weekend.
That's right. As always, too, we have lots to talk about.
I know a lot of college kids out here graduated, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This last week and this weekend.
Yeah. So a lot of commencement speeches.
Yeah, a lot of, yes. And your boy, didn't Chadwick give
one?
At Howard?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he kind of highlighted how Howard been doing them dirty.
Yep.
That was a surprise to me.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I didn't think he was going to call out the university like that. Like,
at the speech.
At the speech, but he did. And I think he had to. I think it was important, not just for the kids, but for the administration at the university to be like, yo, do something, yeah. Right. Like, you know, Chadwick Boseman is calling us out because there was like a bunch of protests going on, like the students were protesting, man.
Yeah, man. High school is well, not just high school, but just all school is about to get out too. So coming down to the last few weeks,
and then that's gonna do a lot for traffic, man. Oh man,
yeah.
It's gonna do a lot for traffic. You can feel it as soon as school gets out. You can feel that pressure be alleviated, man.
So what's going on, Aaron?
Yeah, how's everybody doing out there? We got some viewers on Facebook.
What's going on, Lori on Facebook?
Lori coming up into place. We got a handful of viewers.
I don't know that I've seen. Have you seen Red Soul before?
Nope, never seen Red Soul.
What's going on, Red Soul? Welcome to the stream.
I know, if you ain't ever been here, or just maybe you just never commented.
You know, last week that video had broke about the, you know, we had covered a few things about, you know, like napping while black, you know, and then the Philly Starbucks incident. I believe it was probably that Thursday. We didn't talk about it, but earlier on Thursday it was the grilling while black.
Oh,
the charcoal
barbecuing while black.
Yeah, barbecuing while black.
And then being confronted with a barbecue bigot.
Yeah, a barbecue bigot. So we had seen the story. I had seen it too. We didn't talk about that one in particular because we were doing the napping while black one. But I'd only seen. It seems funny just to say it like that, right? But I had seen a little bit of the video. The whole video was like over 20 minutes long, 25 minutes long. I didn't see the whole video.
Yeah, because they just kind of highlighted the most significant parts of it.
Yeah. So I actually saw the whole video over the weekend, and my goodness. How ridiculous is that video, man? This woman at the end starts crying because she feels like she's being victimized.
But when did she start crying, though?
When the cops showed up.
When the cops showed up, dog.
It was just so emotional, man. It was a traumatic experience for her, man.
You got your voice did the whole Debbie Lusignan same progressive high, like Ponzi scheme. The cops showed up.
Oh man, yeah, because then she could just let it all out at that point.
Yo, you know? She was all of a sudden overcome with this sense of victimhood. Oh, even though she was on the phone for like
over 2 hours.
2 hours trying to get. Now, if you're on the phone with, like, who is she on the phone with?
Like, she got connects, man.
Who is she on the phone with?
She got connects, dog. You don't know, man. You don't know. She on the phone with the city. You know what I'm saying? She on the phone with the mayor. You know what I'm saying? She's trying to get in touch with the governor. Yo, these people are illegally barbecuing.
No, she was like on like the ultimate. May I speak to your manager?
The
ultimate. May I speak to your manager?
I waited for over 2 hours to do it too.
Yeah,
it was crazy, man. But yeah, I liked how the response was. Oakland, you know, Black Oakland. They all teamed together for a big gigantic barbecue right there in the days afterwards. So that was funny. It was great, man. That whole thing, it's just ridiculous, man. It's just
that might be the most
ridiculous.
I think it's ridiculous, but it might be one of the most comical ones.
Yeah,
out of all the stories we've heard.
That's true.
Like some of the other stories really didn't have a lot of comic relief attached to it.
The one that we did do, the napping while black, was, you know, when she was taking the video, she was like,
get my other side.
Get my good side.
Yeah.
that was funny. But the whole incident really,
it overshadowed
that funny incident.
This chick has been like memed.
Oh yeah, many hundreds of times.
I couldn't handle it, man.
She's showing up in every kind of picture.
I couldn't handle it, man. And people posting just multiple memes at a time and just blasting me with it. I'm like, I ain't ready for all these, man.
Yeah, man. She's showing up just calling the popo and everybody.
She's showing up at MLK speech.
Yep.
She's showing up at. I saw one where it was the Fresh Prince scene where he had the basketball court outside shooting, and then she's there. Yep. I'm like, man,
it's crazy.
All these junks are bugging me out, man. But
that was an egregious example of just trying to get in the way of black folks just acting like regular people, man.
Excuse me. We have some black people out here having fun, doing this recreation kind of thing.
Must be against the law, so man, come and get them. Come and get them.
Exactly. There must be something. There must be some sort of law that y'all ain't, enforcing.
Yeah, man.
But but she's been memed, man, and that's cool, man.
She's not been identified as of yet.
Well, I guess you ever heard of Tariq Nasheed? Mm-hmm. He may have identified who she is, but it's still speculation. It's allegedly she's some sort of doctor, professor. She's a doctor at Stanford.
You would think it would happen quickly. I mean, because she was in that video. I mean, you got all sides of her for like 20 minutes.
So she has allegedly been identified, but they still it's not confirmed.
Okay, I got you.
But I forgot her name, something Schultz or something. But yeah, she might be a instructor or professor at a university.
She needs to be outfitted with a bubble, man. Straight up, man, because society is too much for her, man.
Yo,
in Oakland? Why do you live in Oakland? Or why are you even visiting Oakland?
You gotta look at Oakland, man. It's been heavily, just like a lot of other cities, been heavily gentrified. Yeah. So you have a bunch of people kind of like coming into the mix, and they haven't been around a certain group. They're not accustomed to being around a certain group. You know what I'm saying? So all these people are kind of just in certain areas.
Black people trying to grill. I haven't seen this before.
Like, what do you think they're doing? Like, what do you think is in the grill?
Yeah, like you said, this is one of the more comical situations, man.
But like I said, she's been memed, and I don't even care what happens. I don't even care what happens to her, man. That's like what has happened to her is exactly what needed to happen to her. Exactly. Like, people have been she's been embarrassed.
It's totally deserving, man. Tonight, Pennsylvania primaries are taking place. This is notable because it's going to be with the new map. So as we reported weeks ago, the map that they had in place, the congressional district and map that they had in place, was deemed unconstitutional by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court.
And then they shot it up. I guess the Republicans of the state,
they appealed.
They got
all into their feelings.
They got into their feelings, and they they sent it to federal.
Yeah. They wanted to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. Yeah. And somebody. Republican?
It was a Republican justice shot them down.
Yeah, I can't. Who was it? It was Alito.
Yes, it was.
Alito. Oh yeah, okay. It was Alito that shot him down. Was like, yeah, we're not taking this case. So, what the Pennsylvania Supreme Court decided had to remain in place. So they charged they charged Congress to come up with a new map.
Yeah, the governor had to work with both parties,
right,
to redraw the lines.
But ultimately, it was the court that actually drew the map because I guess they were dragging their heels.
Of course they were.
So that map is in place for this primary now. So a lot of people say that it is more fair, of course. So we'll see what the results will be.
That's an important. That's an important state.
Yeah, man, because it's one of those states where it's a swing state, But the people that were holding these congressional seats, it leaned Republican heavily because of this gerrymandering map.
Even though the constituency was pretty balanced.
Exactly.
Like almost 50-50.
Exactly. So, of course, it's tied to gerrymandering. So, again, I'm interested in seeing the results in Pennsylvania tonight. Also, some updated news. This is like an update to update. It's just an updated story.
It's an ongoing.
It's a continuing situation. So there's been a lot of talk about North Korea in the past few weeks. Been a lot of talk about this upcoming summit between the U.S. and South Korea and North Korea, and finally ending the Korean War and denuclearization.
Of course, and Donald Trump deserving full credit.
Yes,
because I read some articles that gave him credit to the point where they said he single-handedly not just arranged this, but kind of created this atmosphere.
He spearheaded
this conciliatory atmosphere between, Kim Jong-un and Moon Jae-in and himself.
Yeah, and himself.
He created this.
He was the instrumental figure in all of this. Okay. Well, again, update. It appears that North Korea has canceled its summit. There was an upcoming summit with just South Korea tomorrow on Wednesday. They canceled that summit, and they are threatening to cancel the upcoming summit with the United States that was due to take place on June 12th in Singapore. They're threatening to cancel that over South Korean and U.S. military drills. It's something that North Korea is taking as a threat. They're taking it as like a sign of aggression, like a provocation, like they're about to be invaded. That's what they're taking it as. So they're threatening to cancel that upcoming summit now.
So there's this notion out there that the aggressive, strong talk by Donald Trump is what actually encouraged this summit to take place.
That is exactly what is being attributed to the reasoning for these peace talks.
So if that's the case, it wouldn't make sense for Kim Jong-un to feel slighted because of some sort of military exercises by South Korea and by the United States, right? It wouldn't make sense.
Like another sign of aggression would rub him the wrong way when that other aggression didn't?
Didn't, exactly. So if aggression is what brought him to this point, then wouldn't aggression keep him here? And it would have no effect on him wanting to continue these conversations?
You would think.
This is kind of actually proof that, like, the boastful rhetoric and the Twitter rages and whatever else Trump said had nothing to do with it. Because if it did, these exercises alone kind of wouldn't have this particular consequence as far as Kim Jong-un's go. You know what I'm saying?
And it was just, I believe it was just last week too, that North Korea was saying that, hey, U.S., be mindful of the words that you're speaking, because we're not scared of your tough talking. That's not why we're coming to the table and trying to join these peace talks.
Slow your roll.
Slow your roll. Back it up, partner. So it's just kind of interesting to me that, like, North Korea testing their nuclear powers, that was a sign of aggression. All right. It was inexcusable. Okay. But the United States and South Korea undergoing some, military tests, some joint military operations, some drills. I guess that's not a sign of aggression.
And it's kind of counterintuitive, because Kim Jong-un's whole, I guess, focus going into this summit was, I guess, to feel secure about the United States, holding, like, not invading. You know what I'm saying? Like, he wanted a guarantee. I mean, I think this is well known that he wants a guarantee that there's no threat for the United States to invade. But if I see United States performing some sort of military drills, it may not even mean anything.
It may not.
But to Kim Jong-un,
it means everything.
It means everything. He's proven to be paranoid.
Yep.
Because he wants to stay in power. So he's been doing things with a paranoid mind state for a long time. So why would you even agitate this joker?
When the upcoming summit is less than a month away.
You know why? Because we somehow believe that our might is what brought him to the table. So we were like, hey, we can just
do what we do.
Yeah, so we can just kind of like, I guess, maybe put some weight on the scales before we go there.
Right.
Or we think it's going to be some sort of weight on the scales. So I don't know.
So again, this is going to be a situation that is updated going forward because we don't know what it means. We don't know if the summit is going to take place. Again, like you said, you don't know with Un what he's going to do, right? You don't know. So we don't know where this is going to go, but it looks. I mean,
he's fragile. You know, he's fragile.
Yeah, exactly. Man. So. Whatever, man. Let's just move on. All right. Okay. So months ago, President Donald Trump announced that the U.S. Embassy in Israel was going to be moving from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and that was mixed. Well, that was, I guess, responded to with mixed feelings. Of course, people or the Israeli government was very happy with that news. Other people in the international community were not happy. They seem that they say that it was going to signal more strife in the region, and it did. It signaled a lot of protests, some violence. So anyway, so yesterday on Monday, May the 14th. There was a celebration in Israel for just that cause, the U.S. moving the embassy to Jerusalem. So the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, he said, "What a glorious day. Remember this moment. This is history. President Trump, by recognizing history, you have made history." So this is a glorious day. And then this happened, too, as a celebration also of the 70-year anniversary of the creation of Israel.
Now, what's the significance of, kind of us opening up the story with that? Them celebrating the 70-year existence and them commemorating the capital being moved to Jerusalem. Why is that kind of, I guess, such an eye-opening or interesting event?
Probably because it wasn't such a glorious day. So there were some protests going on, and there have been protests been going on there for weeks at the Gaza border with Israel, and but it was ramped up a little bit because of this particular issue. So there were more protests, and it ended up, I believe, over 50 Palestinians were killed. The number I saw was 58 Palestinians were killed because of the violence. More than 2,700 Palestinian demonstrators were injured, 1,350 by gunfire, and this was all along the border the border fence. So the Israeli government is putting this, they're saying the responsibility for this falls in the hands of the Palestinians and Hamas. Because they say that there were some protesters that were trying to get past the fence, come into Israel. They were also put in things and kites. Wasn't that right?
Something like
Molotov cocktails and kites and trying to fly them over the border.
Yeah, because there's no protection to that. There's no protection for that. Because essentially what's right over the border is pretty much nothing but military personnel, and obviously Molotov cocktails are kind of a serious threat to your life, especially when you already see them coming over on a kite.
slow moving.
You can't get out of the way.
Right.
But I mean, if that's the kind of I guess the pinnacle of the weaponry that is being used against the Israel Defense Forces, then I don't really feel any kind of sympathy.
No. Again, we saw stones, saw rocks,
slingshots, or as we referred to them like rocket launchers.
Yes, rocket launchers capable of firing off, I guess, missile rocks, like like they're activated by some kind of
missile rocks
from like some jet fuel or something like that. Obviously, because the IDF was very scared.
They must be like, these rocks must be like made of vibranium or something.
Vibranium.
they are straight scared of rocks, man. Oh, and tennis rackets too.
Oh yeah.
Using tennis rackets
the gas,
the tear gas.
Tear gas.
But then they started, they as a response, they kind of started doing the tear gas from the top. Did you see that?
Yeah. The drones were actually able to drop tear gas onto the protesters on the ground. So
obviously the protesters are using some high-tech, highly sophisticated weaponry,
right?
That just far outweighs any kind of arsenal that the IDF has. So
that's correct.
So it just seems reasonable that the IDF have to employ these self-defense maneuvers, man.
Yes, of course, because it's proportional. It's definitely proportional. So this is a White House spokesperson, Hogan Gidley. He was on Fox News talking about what happened yesterday.
Well, obviously, Prime Minister Netanyahu and this president are close allies. They're the only democracy in the region. But I do want to echo something that Nikki Haley just said, and the ambassador is absolutely right. Hamas is pleased, I think is the word she used, with this action. We put the onus squarely on Hamas here. This is an organized, purposeful propaganda technique by Hamas to try and garner support and sympathy from media outlets and from the rest of the global community. But when they have a clear disdain for life by using human shields repeatedly, as you just saw Nikki Haley testifying to the fact that they were putting Molotov cocktails on kites and trying to fly them over the border, this is the type of action so that they will, in fact, get shot. So it looks as though it's somehow someone else's fault for their action. But this is clearly on Hamas. Ambassador Haley is absolutely right, and this president stands with Benjamin Netanyahu on this issue.
Okay, so does Israel not kind of try to garner sympathy or support in any way?
They do.
Does Israel not use propaganda to garner support? So again, regardless of what people think about Hamas, which again, that should be kind of a secondary issue to me, because you're talking about tactics now. That's really all you're talking about. You're talking about the tactics they're using by sending things over the border. And that's kind of the central issue here, whether this border is even legitimate. So we're going into they're kind of going into this kind of conversation as if the border is legitimate, and that's the problem.
Yeah, that's one problem. I saw a lot of problems with what that spokesperson said. He said that Hamas was using these people as human shields, and that they're trying to, because of this situation, because of all the people that died, they're trying to pass it off as it was somebody else's fault. It wasn't the IDF's fault. It wasn't Israel's fault. But it was Israel that actually shot the weapons. It was Israel that actually killed the people. Now, you can say that Hamas doesn't really have good intentions for their own people, or actually they're not employing good strategies for their own people. You could say that. You could have that critique. No doubt.
Just having a strategic critique, though.
No doubt. But you can't say that these people that are protesting, not all of which that are trying to make their way for the fence and trying to get into, get past the border. You can't say that these people should have been shot. Like, imagine, because we have a situation here with immigration, right? Let's just talk about the southern border wall, right, with Mexico. There are people that come across the border to get into America, right, to get into the United States of America. Let's say the United States just said, you know what, hey, you're trying to get across the border, we're going to shoot you on arrival. Would that be acceptable? I don't so it doesn't really matter to me, like, where it happens. Like, you are the force here. You have all the guns. You have the military. These other people have rocks, stones, slingshots.
Also, once they get over there, what's going to happen? Most likely they'll just be detained anyway.
Yes, because they're not just gonna like assimilate. They're just like, oh, I'm hidden now. No, you're right. The military force is right there. I just think it was very unnecessary to kill all of these people.
And also, and some of the people that have been killed, they were not trying to get through the fence.
Exactly.
Now,
So that's why you can't just say it was people that were trying to get across.
If you're going to use that as kind of the reason or a justification for why these people were shot, you better be damn well sure that the people that were shot were the ones trying to get over.
Right.
If you're trying to, if that's what you want to do, protect your border, and that's how you, I guess, and that's how they see fit to do it. If they see that is the most efficient way, okay. But you better be damn well sure that the people that you did shoot were actually trying to come over the border. Everyone that you did shoot. And from what we saw, because we've been covering this for the last month, were not. We saw people who were running away.
Right.
Some of them were unarmed.
Right.
Not ones that had Molotov cocktails.
Right.
Not ones that had slingshots. You know what I'm saying? They were shot while running away. And you may say, well, they may have done something. They may have shot, a rock over the fence, or they may have been a part of a group that sent the kite over.
Right.
But were they specifically a threat at that moment?
Right.
That's my question.
Look, again, if you're talking about Hamas, there's criticism there, right? No doubt, right? If you're talking about the Israel side, you're talking about the government, there's criticism there. The problem is that on this date, right? And okay, so you're celebrating the creation of Israel. There's going to be protests, right? There's going to be violence because what happened to the people that were there before the creation of Israel, they were moved off their land, right? They were there, they were moved off the land. So to me, at that point, it doesn't really matter who says they have a claim to the land because of religious background or if what happened in the past, like they have roots in the ground, you can dig up stuff and like we were here, we have a claim to what matters is that people were there, you moved them off their land. So at that point an injustice was played out, right? So at this point now in 2018, I think we understand that Israel is going to be there. I don't think any reasonable person thinks that, or we should dissolve Israel and Israel shouldn't be a country anymore. They shouldn't have their safety and security. I don't think anybody reasonable thinks that, but I think reasonable people think that there should be a two-state solution. There should be a place for Palestinians, a place of their own as well, because they were there and injustice was done to them. What we have right now is that they are living in an open-air prison. Yeah, that's what we have right now.
Yeah, and reasonable people would make the consideration that these people do have some sort of argument. And I like the fact that you kind of pretty much toss religion out of it,
right?
Because you can just toss religion out of this conversation because it's pretty simple. It's just about the land theft. It's about people being expelled from their land. And ever since there's been multiple major wars over this land, and continuous battles going on. And do the descendants of those who were expelled, those people that were created to be refugees, from the war in 1947, 48, and then in 67 again, do the descendants of those, 700,000, 800,000 refugees that were created, don't they have an argument? Don't they have a case? Do the displaced lives not matter? Or the descendants of the displaced? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, because if Israel as a state can have this kind of ongoing narrative about their existence being very important, based on, I guess, their claim to the land, shouldn't the descendants of the refugees that were displaced have that same argument?
It's the same argument.
It's actually it's the same argument. I mean, think about how you hear the statement, Israel has a right to exist. Right.
Many times.
Have you ever heard that same statement in regards to Palestinians?
No.
Palestinians have a right to exist. You ever heard that?
Because they're not official right now.
Because they're not official. And again, it's based on a situation where they have been placed in as they've been placed as the disenfranchised. Because when the resolution was first crafted in 1947, 48, Israel was supposed to only get about 50% of the land. They ended up getting like 75% of it. And then they continuously are building new settlements and moving the border further out.
That's right.
So if the conversation doesn't center around that fact, then...
Exactly. So this can never end then, because we're at a place where I guess the governing body of that area continues to move the goalpost.
And it's like you said something about like a 2-state resolution, but I have never heard of actual 2-state resolution that was fair. There's always this assumption, like, because you always hear, oh, Palestinians don't want peace. Doesn't matter what you try to give them. But I have yet to see any fair 2-state solution that kind of I guess lessens the amount of power that Israel has. I haven't seen it. If somebody has seen it, I wish.
Well, because if it's going to be fair, you would have to address the land grabs, the ongoing land grabs, like the growing, the push, the increase of settlements. You would have to address that if it was going to be a fair deal, and that is obviously it's just not addressed most of the time. So
when you're talking about peace, to me, the conversation about peace is a non-starter if justice doesn't precede it. So I don't get, you know what I'm saying? So if we're gonna like almost put peace as a topic and give that, I guess, give Palestinians sole responsibility for that, that seems to be disingenuous if there hasn't actually been steps made to seek justice, for those displaced.
See, the problem that I see is that, of course you have two sides here, and on the Israeli side, they're saying, okay, Palestinians, you're susceptible to bad management. You got Hamas trying to lead the way. They're not really interested in your I guess in your success, in your livelihood. Okay. So they're not the right management team that you have for you. Well, I would counter that with saying that Israel, the governing body, like the government that's there in Israel, they're also doing really poor things for humanity, all of humanity as well. Because of course there are many Israeli people that want peace in that region. They want a 2-state solution. But doesn't seem like it's going to go anywhere because
you have a right wing, pretty much you have right wing leadership.
Yeah. So things like this will continue to happen. I believe today is the last day of the protesting. I believe because it started back in March, I believe, and I believe today is the last day of this protesting. But this is a situation that will continue to unfold throughout the weeks, months, and years because I don't see an end in sight.
I don't see an end in sight. I don't see how many of the 200 some odd Democrats, had anything to say about this violence going on at the border. Maybe a handful.
Maybe.
I mean, and to me, Bernie Sanders don't count.
No, he doesn't. He don't count. Because he's going to say it. Yeah,
so
he's on the side of humanity, justice. Now, but there were people in the international community that did speak about this. Even like France, the foreign minister Jean Le Drian. Jean-Yves Le Drian said France again calls on the Israeli authorities to exercise discernment and restraint in the use of force that must be strictly proportionate. A spokesman for Prime Minister Theresa May in the UK said that the UK, quote, remains firmly committed to a 2-state solution with Jerusalem as a shared capital. We urge calm and restraint to avoid actions destructive to peace efforts. So again, I don't see anything that's going to move the needle that, concerning the Israeli government. Like you said, they're a right-wing government, and Trump is backing their initiatives.
He's not going to call out violence at all.
No, he's going to attribute that to Hamas.
Well, Trump's focus to calling out violence was directed at that Muslim attack, or the attack that was done by a Muslim in Paris that claimed one life and injured 4 others. He called that out on Twitter on Sunday, just like that. And that's purposeful. As a try to to try to kind of like focus attention away from the violence that's going on the border right now in Israel.
But 58 Palestinians killed, many thousands injured.
He has to highlight one, and one particular that was done by a Muslim. That was purposeful. It's not a coincidence that he did that on Sunday.
It's not. All right, we're going to continue the show Facebook. We're going to continue the show on YouTube exclusively. So if you would join us there, you know what? We don't have the link in the description. Well, you can find us. Okay,
yeah, I think they're smart enough.
You're smart enough to find us on YouTube. You know, if you don't know the live link, you know, you can just type it into the search LTMB or Let the Madness Begin. You'll find us very easily. But we hope that you do join us. We have lots more to talk about, so we'll see you there. Okay. All right. All right, let's stay in that region, man. Let's go to Iran. All right, so President Trump announced last week that the U.S. was pulling out of the Iran nuclear agreement, the deal that was meant to ensure that Iran would not be able to obtain nuclear weapons. This is also the same agreement that Iran has not violated since the agreement was enacted. President Trump also announced that the U.S. was reimposing the highest levels of sanctions against Iran. So the U.S. was not the only country to sign this agreement. France, the U.K., Russia, China, Germany, and plus the European Union, they all were signatories onto this deal. They agreed to the framework. And by all accounts, it seems that everyone else intends to stay in this agreement with Iran. Enter new National Security Advisor John Bolton. So John Bolton recently said on ABC's This Week that it's possible that the U.S. could impose sanctions on those that continue to deal with Iran under the nuclear agreement.
So even though they're not actually the main target, John Bolton wants to actually make them target of sanctions, even though they're not like, I don't know, they're not kind of in violation of anything. That we don't have a deal with them, any kind of treaty or any kind of resolution with them that they violated.
Right.
But because they want to remain in the deal, they want the Iran deal to remain solvent, and we don't. We're going to lash out at them.
We are America. We are the United States of America. What we say goes. So it doesn't matter if they're not in violation of anything. Like, we don't have anything to pin on them. We have no beef with them. If they're dealing with a country that we no longer officially deal with, well, then you're gonna feel the fury. So on that show on ABC's This Week, Bolton said, quote, Europeans are going to face the effective U.S. sanctions, already are really, because much of what they would like to sell to Iran involves U.S. technology, for which the licenses will not be available.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, he is right on that. Like, essentially, their economy, or most of the world's economy, is set up based on the U.S. patenting system. But again, I think Bolton, Trump, and crew are gambling on the notion that our European allies will always indefinitely need access to our massive economy. Like, now they currently do, because I think the U.S. dollar kind of backs their own currency, and the European banks are heavily invested in the U.S. market. So I mean, yes, the businesses in Europe are built around U.S. trade, but something like that is not necessarily set in stone. You see what I'm saying?
That's true.
You know, so, you know, Trump could be creating a situation where countries are going to be looking to get from out of that dependency.
Exactly. That's what I see as well, because I guess you're pretty much holding them hostage here. You know, it's like, if you don't do what we say, even though we don't really have any good reasoning to pull out of this deal and to make you pull out of the deal, we're going to sanction you to death just because we like it, just because we are the big bad United States.
But how is that?
It's just not a good thing to do for a global economic environment.
But is that differently Is that different than how they've approached every other subject though?
No,
like they haven't approached anything like with the DACA.
Yeah.
The administration had to prove to the courts that there was some sort of merit behind why they wanted to do with the program.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the Muslim ban.
Right.
Same thing with the transgender ban.
Mm-hmm.
I keep forgetting the other thing.
Yeah, it was something else. Yeah, that we did a story. I can't remember. We did a story
on where basically the Trump administration could not prove their case.
Right. And it was the same. The judge had the same language.
The judge had the same language.
Right.
So I see it in this case. Like, what are the chances? Like, no other country, none of the other countries that were kind of co-signers in this Iran deal, thought that there was anything wrong with the deal. They didn't, they didn't show any kind of apprehension about Iran, keeping with the deal's policies or whatever. So what are the chances that our perspective as the United States on this deal, when I say our perspective, I'm just talking about this administration.
Yeah, this administration. Right.
What are the chances that their perspective has merit? Since no other country that is kind of included in the Iran deal was included with us, since no other country had kind of that same viewpoint. Right. What are the chances that the United States, this administration's viewpoint, their perspective, has merit?
So, all right, so I'll pick up on that. Right? So, on the show, on ABC's This Week, Martha Raddatz, she started addressing Iran and how they were violating the agreement. She said, the allies say nothing. The inspectors say nothing. So, National Security Advisor John Bolton, he responded, quote, well, the inspectors don't know everything. You can't say honestly that Iran didn't violate the deal because we don't have adequate inspections. So I'm like, wow, hold on. So what you're saying is that you have no proof. Obviously, you have no proof because you would have offered it, that Iran is violating the agreement. But just because you think that they might, we got to get out of here.
There's no proof.
And we got to make you get out of here, too. All the other countries involved in this deal. You have to get out, too, because we suspect, based on nothing, that they're violating the agreement.
We don't have to show you any proof.
Just our word. Our word.
We don't have proof that...
it's actually not even our word. It's just our suspicion.
It's our suspicion. Well, since they don't want to see proof that Iran is following the deal, they're just ignoring that.
Right.
It automatically means the opposite. It means the opposite. We don't see proof that Iran's following it, or we don't want to see proof. We don't want to see proof. So it automatically means Iran is going against the deal.
Yes. Automatically. Just because something in my gut. Something in Bolton's gut is like, hey, you know how Iran does. You know, they're the leading state sponsor of terrorism. You know, something in my gut just feels like they're violating this agreement. Let's pull out. Let's make everybody pull out just based on my gut feeling. And if they don't pull out, we're going to sanction them.
We're going to lash out at them. Even though we don't have proof.
If that's not American, what would you call it?
That's that. Remember that
exceptionalism.
What was that? Dick Cheney.
Yeah,
we're right because we're America.
Yeah,
and we're American because we're right.
That's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. But I mean, this is.
I think that was Dick Cheney. That was Cheney or Rumsfeld. I can't remember who said it.
This is what we got going. So I don't know where we're gonna go from here. Again, the other countries are saying that they intend to stay in agreement. So it's going to be very interesting if the United States really does try to poke out their chest and sanction them for staying in this agreement that there's no evidence that Iran is violating.
As of right now, yes, that it that might have some sway, but
ultimately, you seeing down the line in the future, they may try to lessen their independence on the U.S.
I mean, he's like Trump, and this administration is almost pushing the world. Pushing the world to kind of, no longer ride on the coattails of the United States anymore. Like, what nation would they look to as a replacement? And that's a nation that's right there, and that's China. They could very well look to China.
Look, man.
So I'm just saying.
I'm saying we got 3 more years in this administration too. It's not like they can just like, all right, let's just bide our time. Let's wait to see if he actually does get reelected and then do something. Like 3 years is a long time.
No, I think that this kind of, you know, America first, fuck the world. That's a message.
Yeah, and it's a mistake.
And it's a mistake. And if other nations do circle the wagons, it's going to be swift. It's not. Obviously a United States will not have any clue that it's happening. But if other countries and if other nations decide to circle the wagons because of this kind of isolationist America first, fuck the world, yeah, we could be left like out in the cold for real.
All right,
because he's trying to run this country like he ran Trump University
into the ground,
into
right?
the ground.
All right. So we have a bunch of other stuff. What do you want to get to?
We can go to anyone. We can go to stay with somebody within government. We can go to the Georgia gubernatorial candidate.
Okay.
That does kind of connect to Trump, in my opinion.
You think? Okay, let's go.
Oh no, I think it does.
Yeah, let's go there then. Of course, it connects to Trump, no doubt.
You'll see that from the jump.
All right, so let me pull this one up. Okay, all right. So Republican Georgia State Senator Michael Williams is running for governor, and he decided to generate some buzz with some good old-fashioned racism. So in a campaign video, he revealed his deportation bus. He described it as a deportation bus. You'll see it on the video as well. Deportation bus. He also announced that he will embark on a tour of sanctuary cities in Georgia to round up illegals, quote illegals, and take them out of the country back to their country. So this is his campaign video that we're gonna show you.
Hi, I'm Michael Williams, and boy, do we have some exciting news to you. We have our bus tour ready to go, but it's not going to be one of those pansy political bus tours. We've got the Deportation Bus. That's right, you heard me, the Michael Williams Deportation Bus. If you want to find out where we're coming, go to deportationbus.com. We're going to implement my 287G deportation plan that's going to fill this bus with illegals to send them back to where they came from. We're not just going to track them and watch them roam around our state. We're going to put them on this bus and send them home. Go to deportationbus.com and find out where we're going to be. See you there. If you're as tired as I am with politicians that do nothing but talk, and you want to see this bus filled with illegals, vote Michael Williams on May 22nd.
All aboard the Xenophobic Express. Mike Will made it. His name is Michael Williams. Mike Will made it.
Yeah.
I mean, hold up. Is he gonna like bring ICE agents with him?
You would have to, right? I mean,
or he's gonna leave that. I mean, bring them with him, or use the state's local ICE agents.
Is he even tasked to do this?
No,
he's not. So how in the hell is he gonna just be like, well, you know, I'm a state senator, so I'm gonna bring some people and we're gonna hunt undocumented immigrants and we're going to make civilian arrests and send them back, and take them,
which doesn't happen. They have to await an immigration judge.
What you're talking about is kidnapping.
That's exactly what he's talking about. He's about to kidnap some. He probably wants to make them work in his own house or something.
And he says, hey, go to our website, deportationbus.com, see where we're gonna be. So hold on. You want an audience to see these kidnappings as well?
Yo, he wanted to make it a show. Like, what is is he gonna have like places for people to stand, like and cheer, like woo?
Yo,
get him on that bus. Yeah, that's right.
And like, how do you know where they come from?
He's just gonna know.
How would you know where they come from? Now see that brings up something very interesting. Okay, so at the end of that video, he was standing towards the back of the bus, right? And so this is a picture of it. I took a little snapshot of this picture. So you might not have been able to read everything on this back of the bus right here, but there's a few things I like to point out. First of all, it says "Follow me to Mexico." So there's a lot of people here that are undocumented that aren't from Mexico.
Yeah, Mexico. And also, and like you said, not only how would he know that a person is undocumented, how would he know whether they're murderers, rapists, kidnappers, and child molesters?
So, okay, let's go back to that picture. Yeah. So he said danger, murderers, rapists, kidnappers, child molesters, or other criminals on board. Two things. First thing that Mike pointed out. How would you know that they're guilty of those crimes, right? Second of all, I guess there's three things. Second of all, you're invited a crowd to watch you detain these violent criminals.
Well, first.
That's the second thing.
We have not determined how he was going to detain all these dangerous people.
No, we don't know that. Yeah, they're very dangerous.
No, and like you said,
you packing? He must be packing.
He must be packing, but you want an audience of people around all these dangerous people who are rapists and murderers.
It's unfathomable, right?
Even if that actually happened, what could go wrong? If that was true, like, what could go wrong?
What could go wrong, right? All right, so the third
Bring
thing.
your kids. Bring on.
All right, hold on. All right, so the third thing I want to point out is that he makes the equation right there. He doesn't have to say it, but he made the equation. First of all undocumented immigrants that are here are from Mexico. Follow me to Mexico, right? That's what it says, right? He also says danger, murderers, rapists, kidnappers, child molesters, other criminals. So again, he made the equation that any undocumented immigrant that is here in America is automatically one of those. They're automatically a violent criminal. And they need to be taken back to the country of their origin, which is Mexico.
So now that's why I said it connects to Trump. I know this type of attitude is not new. Obviously, attitude existed before Trump was on the political scene, before Trump was even born. But as far as I guess making this like an actual campaign focus, as far as like making your campaign more visible. Using this tactic, that is a Trump effect.
Oh, that's Trumpian. That's definitely Trumpian. Very brash, very just out there.
And he has the same talking points. They cost the taxpayers. They destroy economies. They education suffers. He had all the same talking points. And what study is he running for, Governor? Georgia. Georgia. He's running for office in a state that already tried to implement harsh immigration policies, one of which gave police officers the authority to request immigration documentation from people who were, I guess, suspects and maybe other activity.
Right.
You know what happened? That was just one of the policies. And they also made it very, very strict for corporations and businesses to hire people who are undocumented. You know what happened?
What happened?
Since he Mr. Mike Williams, Mike Will made it. Since he wants to highlight the economy's being destroyed. Actually, that strict immigration policy pretty much destroyed the economy in certain areas.
Because of the funding, huh?
Not just that. No, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
But one of the things is I think Georgia lost $140 million in crops because they didn't have no workers. Right. They were just rotting in the fields. The hotel industry and the restaurant industry suffered too. And even though Georgia had a high unemployment rate, nobody wanted to do those jobs.
Right.
Nobody went after those jobs, even when all those people, those undocumented people, were kind of pushed out of the state. Not only did that create a lot of undocumented people being pushed out, a lot of people didn't come to the state. A lot of people who undocumented didn't come to fill those positions because of their strict immigration policy. And you know what happened to those small towns that these immigrants used to breathe life into, because they still paid local sales taxes and property taxes.
No doubt.
So all these little little towns that these undocumented immigrants breathed life into, guess what happened? Most of these towns are mainly white people. So guess who suffered? Because again, those property taxes and those sales taxes go to support local services.
Yes, the economy.
Yeah, the economy.
The overall economy.
The overall economy.
But hey, let Williams tell it. He has a very different narrative. So in a campaign, in a press release, the campaign said that the tour will, quote, expose how dangerous illegal aliens ruin local economies, cost American jobs, increase healthcare costs, and lower education standards. So whatever information that you got is obviously wrong, and State Senator Williams knows what the hell he's talking about.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
But yeah, and this is just that bigoted type of attitude, which, like Mike said, is not new, but leading with it, like leading with your chest with it, like in your campaign. That is very Trumpian. That's something that Donald Trump brought to the forefront, and he's just following that same mold. Now he's vying for office with 6 other GOP candidates, and there was a recent poll done by the University of Georgia that found that only 3% of voters say that they support Williams. So, thankfully, not a lot of people are supporting him. But 2, because of that lack of support, you have tactics like this. He's trying to approach it in a very groundbreaking way, like trying to interject enthusiasm into the candidacy.
If people didn't respond to it, he wouldn't do it.
Exactly.
Only reason why he's doing that, people will respond to it, because he knows that people won't look into any of the things he says.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're all people like him are always pointing the finger at minorities, immigrants, and saying that they're destroying your life, when in actuality most of those people are most likely making your lives better, and they are in so many different ways, because a lot of them don't actually get to take most all of them do not get to take advantage of the tax dollars that they're forking over. Like, a lot of these immigrants get W-2s, even though they have a legal status. Like, some of these companies get them like fake social security numbers. They get a W-2, so when they file their taxes, they get like some sort of tax ID number, which allows them to file taxes. And if they get a W-2, that means, guess what? You have looked on your pay stub and see all that stuff coming out?
Yeah, all the taxes.
So all that stuff that comes out on their taxes too. Not all of them, but they don't get to take advantage of anything that comes out, like Social Security, Medicaid. They don't. So we actually benefit from keeping them undocumented.
Yup. It benefits the economy. But hey, like I said, Williams is just trying to do things to protect your family from danger. Even though I believe I read something somewhere, something stating that, like, I think undocumented immigrants, I think they commit crimes at a lower rate than American citizens.
But again, that makes sense, because they understand that anything that they do is going to be they're going to have the microscope on them.
Yes.
They're going to be more heavily scrutinized, that it could jeopardize their citizenship. That doesn't mean they're like completely innocent. They never do anything wrong.
No, we're not saying that.
Not saying that at all. But again, it would make sense that it's lower, because they have more to worry about. They could be deported.
They have more to lose.
They have more to lose.
Right. All right.
It's almost like they have a more of an incentive to be better Americans than we do.
Exactly. Stay out of the system, right?
The system.
That's privilege right there, man. That's American privilege, right?
I ain't got to worry about that, John. I got to worry about other stuff, but
yeah.
Even if I, what I'm saying, get something bad happens to me, which it did, I don't feel like I'm going to be deported because of it.
Exactly true. All right. Let's go to we can quickly go to net neutrality.
Oh, true that.
Yeah. So tomorrow on Wednesday, in an effort led by the Senate Democrats. They're going to vote to repeal changes to the net neutrality rules that were just recently adopted by the Republicans on the FCC board. So the measure is backed by all 49 Democrats and one Republican right now, Susan Collins of Maine, and it's expected to pass the Senate because all it needs is a simple majority vote. In the way that they're going about it, they don't need 60 votes; they just need a simple majority vote. So it's expected to pass, but once it gets to the House, don't know what's going to happen there. Of course, there are many more Republicans there. It's a larger gap. I guess they have more. Well, they have more seats than. I guess the gap between Republicans and Democrats is larger in the House. That's what I mean to say. You would have to have more Republicans actually sign on to this, which I don't think is foreseeable. I don't see it foreseeable. And even if it does get past the House, it would go to President Donald Trump to sign it, which I don't think he would, seeing is that he's the one that was approving of the FCC's move to end net neutrality. So
you said you don't think he will sign it?
No, I don't think he'll sign it.
Well, really? Why not? President
Donald Trump?
Yeah.
To keep net neutrality in place?
Oh, I mean, yeah, he hasn't expressed anything about wanting to shut down the internet ever, though. He hasn't expressed anything about wanting to take credentials away from media outlets at all. So I don't know what you're talking about. He hasn't expressed anything about shutting certain websites down, or going after certain people for being at a rally, or his DOJ did. But,
that's right.
You know what I'm saying? He hasn't done any of that stuff. So I don't even know where you're getting that from, dude.
So yeah. So without that, Trump would probably sign this deal if it got to him. Unfortunately, that's not the reality, though. Yeah. That's not reality. Trump would not sign this whatsoever.
It would be a big boost, or it would provide a big boost to the media conglomerates or the media bigwigs, and then
to not sign it. Or to sign it.
Oh, to not sign it.
Oh, yeah, no
doubt. Judging from looking at the recent thing with AT&T and Michael Cohen, and AT&T paying for access,
right?
I just don't see why he would. You know what I'm
saying? He's the one that put Ajit Pai in his place, right?
Exactly.
So he wouldn't sign it. There's no way he would sign it. And like you're saying, net neutrality or ending net neutrality is troublesome, as we have covered before, because it can set up those slow and fast lanes. These internet service providers can put a premium on content. They can suppress content altogether. They can block content. They can do whatever they want to because they'll have the power to do so. So it's a problem. Senator Chuck Schumer from New York, he said in a statement, the internet should be kept free and open like our highways, accessible and affordable to every American, regardless of ability to pay. The repeal of net neutrality is not only a blow to the average consumer, but it is a blow to public schools, rural Americans, communities of color, and small businesses. A vote against this resolution would be a vote to protect large corporations and special interests, leaving the American public to pay the price. I know what many people think about Chuck Schumer. I think the same thing about Chuck Schumer. He's not my type of guy. He's not my type of politician. Not very supportive of Chuck Schumer. The words that he said were very true. Does he believe those words? One could say that they don't believe he's being authentic. Maybe. I'm not sure. It's really tough to figure out when they're being authentic or when they're just paying lip service.
But it doesn't make the words less true.
Exactly. That's where I'm getting with this. I don't really care what his intention is. I care that they're on the right side of this. That's what I care about. Now, I believe there will be some people that say this is just political grandstanding because they know, of course, that this is not going to get through the House, and if it even does get through the House, President Trump is not going to sign it. So the Democrats are just using this to, I guess, help them a few months down the line, because what's coming is the midterms. So this is going to be a good look for them going into the midterms, because they're on the right side of this.
But does it really matter?
I agree, but
does it really matter? Your view on net neutrality doesn't change based on how the Democrats are using it as an agenda.
Exactly.
Because that's what they've always done.
Exactly.
That doesn't change how we should talk about these subjects.
No. And the point here is that who is not on the right side? Republicans.
In this administration.
Not on the right side of this whatsoever. So, like I said, there is definitely an aspect of this, this is just political theater. But, that's what happens all the time. So, this isn't going to go anywhere. I don't believe this is going to go anywhere. Net neutrality will end, I believe. I don't see anything that's going to stop it at this point. But this is a good look for the Democrats, and I think it will pay dividends come November.
I mean, if you think about, I guess when we're talking about net neutrality, we're talking about it as, I guess, something that would kind of affect you and I, some of our viewers, like the regular people. Mm-hmm. How would you think it would affect, let's say, somebody vying for re-election? Because if these networks and the internet are now going to be based on, I guess they're going to be prioritized. Mm-hmm. How are campaigns run?
Through the internet.
The campaigns are run through the internet.
Yeah. A lot of media happens over the internet now.
A lot of media happens over the internet. So I think it's actually bad for even the bad guys.
And that's the one thing that you would hope that regular people would understand, because this is something that's not just going to affect a certain type of political ideology. No matter what kind of ideology you have, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, this is going to hurt you. So it would behoove people to keep that in mind when they actually vote.
Because think about how many people's access will be affected.
Right.
So if people's access is affected by net neutrality, or their net neutrality not being there, essentially, it kind of cuts off kind of this connective cord that people have,
right?
That those are trying to influence them.
I mean, we've already seen problems with Facebook, right? People complain about Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, even. It's all over the place. Ending net neutrality is going to just make that problem even worse. I don't even know what end, because again, they will be able to do whatever the hell they want to do.
And if you think that, there are certain politicians that feel obligated to do certain things now, as far as corporations go, imagine if the power on the internet gets consolidated.
Right. All right. Okay. Let's do the drug use. Want to do that?
Yeah.
All right. All right. So, all right. Across the United States, drug use attributed to different ethnic groups is very similar. So understanding that white people, black people, Latino people use drugs at comparable rates, it's very disturbing to learn that people of color continue to be arrested at much higher rates than white people. So there's new data from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice System Services, and it reveals that between January 2018 and March 2018, 93% of people arrested by the NYPD, the New York City Police Department, for marijuana possession were people of color. 93% of people that were arrested for marijuana possession between January 2018 and March 2018 were people of color. These are the numbers, okay? There were 4,081 arrests. 287 of those people were white. 2,006 were black, and 1,621 were Latino people.
And then considering the demographic and how the demographics are spread out, and how the demographics are spread out, and how there are populations that are actually concentrated, that would indicate that this is not happenstance.
No,
you actually have to target a certain group of people.
You would have to.
You have to target a certain group.
The demographics in New York City, a city of what, about 8 million people or so. 25% of the population. Okay, I don't know. Hold on, let's see. Let me make sure. Hold on, I think we're getting some buffer in here.
Yeah,
let me make sure.
We're gonna hold off on any commentary for right now. If y'all can hear us, because all of a sudden it's buffering again. But again, we don't normally have.
Yeah. All right, I think it's okay right now, even though we still see red. Nope. It's buffering, which doesn't make any sense. All right, we're gonna hold off until we see some steady communication. I think it's good now. Still see red.
It's not buffering, but still see red.
Is anybody buffering? Are we buffering for anybody? Nobody's responding.
Yeah, so that leads me to believe that.
Yeah. Then I saw some people get out too.
Yeah, that leads me to believe the stream is kind of getting wonky.
All right, we haven't seen any buffering. Looks good. All right, saw some. All right. So let's continue. All right, so the demographics of New York City, a land of like I said, about 8 million people. 25% of the people, 25% of the population is black. About 27.5% of the population is Hispanic of any kind. 44.5% of the population is white. How? Again, noting that it is not dependent on what race you are, what ethnicity you are. People use drugs at about the same rates, no matter what they are. Black, white, Hispanic, does not matter. It's very comparable. So how do you get 93% of the arrests to be people of color?
Profiling.
It would have to be that, right?
It
would have to be that.
It would have to be that, especially if black people and Hispanics of all sorts, black and white Hispanics, make up the majority of the rest, or so much. You would have to target certain areas. You don't get those numbers without targeting. I've heard, former police officers, state that, that they were kind of instructed. They were instructed to profile. They were instructed, hey,
to go into certain type of neighborhoods.
Certain type of neighborhoods, and quite a few of them actually, kind of question why. And like, if we know, what the drug use rates are, then why are we going in those neighborhoods too?
Because so if it doesn't matter based on race, ethnicity, if it doesn't matter, then you're just going to pick up people that are using drugs. Like, you're going to pick up people, doesn't matter who they are, what they look like. You're going to pick up people that have drugs on them, that have marijuana on them. So you would get something that looks more like what the demographics are in that city.
If that's what you were really going after, if you were truly just going after drug use
in general,
then I guess the rate at which you arrest would seemingly look like it would be even across the board, at least, or it would be closer.
Very close.
I'm not going to sit there and say it would be even.
Exact. But you can't say that.
But it would be fairly close.
93%? In a city that only has 25% of the black population, and 27.5% of the Hispanic population, 93% of the people arrested were of color? Nah. So what needs to happen is that marijuana needs to be legalized. I see no other I guess outcome here, or no other solution here, because we see the tactics of law enforcement. They are specifically going after people of color. And they're saying, we aren't going to go into these suburbs. We aren't going to go into these white neighborhoods. We're going to try to get these people of color in jail. There's no other, like you said, there's no other, you can't come to a result like that with any other reasoning.
Seems like that was the way that they approached the drug war, or the war on drugs.
How it started, huh?
Seems like that's the reason why they started it. Because why else would you kind of create an approach that goes after certain people? Or is it just another area that racism has flooded into?
Yep.
Because essentially how we approach the laws will be a reflection of how, we see the world, right?
That's why I can't. That's why I can't. Well, throwing out racism, I can't understand why law enforcement has this just, I guess, glossy surface. Like this upstanding. They have the highest moral and ethics, and they're all about protecting people and serving the community.
I mean, how old are what's the average age of a cop? Most cops don't go to they can't go to the academy until they're older than 21.
Yeah.
So
I'd probably say like 30,
28.
Yeah,
30, 28,
late 20s, right?
Or mid 20s in some cases.
Yeah.
So for the most part, police officers have been nurtured and they've developed in a world for 20, 22 years, 23 years, sometimes more. So can some experience at an academy somehow deprogram all of that?
No.
That they've come up for the last 20, 22, 23 years? No. Can go into the academy and being trained to be a police officer kind of deprogram them?
And you know what?
They'll deprogram everything that they have learned. They've internalized things just like you and I.
But while that's true, it's just not about these individual cops either. It's about the directives as well. So the people the top of the command, and they're saying, hey, go to these neighborhoods. Like, that's your job. That's your job description. You can't to avoid white people that are doing drugs. That would be pretty hard when white people make up
the majority
of the population. That would be really hard to do.
That would take some intent.
Huh.
So
an
intent to ignore, but intent to pursue another group.
Yeah. Legalize it, man. Because people's lives are being destroyed. And if you're gonna say that this is a crime, then it has to be a crime across the board. You can't just target a certain type of people, like a certain shade of people.
So this is a violation of the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah, it is. Filling up the jails with people of color, man.
Because it's not equal protection under law. By technicality, it's not.
It's not written, but it's illegal for people of color. It's not written, but by the way they, I guess, enforce this behavior and enforce the crime, it's illegal for people of color. 93% of people arrested in a 3-month span. 93% were people of color. That's wow, man. That's crazy.
But I mean, it's not something we kind of already didn't know. It's just the number is so staggering.
It's absolutely staggering, man. It's again, like, it's not something that's like it's staggering to see the percentage. It's not staggering to know that black people and Hispanic people are being targeted by law enforcement. That's not staggering. But to see that huge number, 93%, man, again, that's why I can't understand throwing racism out. I can't understand how law enforcement still has like this perception of being full of integrity. You know what I'm saying? You'd have to throw racism in there. You'd have to throw that in there. Oh, they're just doing it. Look, it's blind justice. No, it's not. It's not.
But again, you brought up like directives though, so now you're getting away from talking about individual cops. So what are you getting into when you're talking about directives that they have to follow? Like where does like where does that stem from?
It has to go to the top, because you can't tell me that like police chiefs, sheriffs that are instructing these lower law enforcement officers to, I guess, employ these tactics. You can't tell me that the people that are above them, like the mayor, the district attorneys, even the politicians in the state, you can't tell me that they don't know what's going on.
And of course, a lot of them probably receive money from the private prison industry.
Of course they do.
And so who they target in regard to certain laws is usually going to be the most disenfranchised, or those who have historically been disenfranchised. So I don't know. I guess it's almost like written in the cards that it would kind of play out like this.
Because it always has. It always has played out like this. That's why you got to legalize it, man. Because, politicians, like, I think it's easier. I think it's going to be easier to legalize marijuana than to actually create justice. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be easier to actually legalize marijuana than to actually create a system of justice that is equal.
That's actually a shame, because it didn't actually have to come to this. Would we even be having the legalization discussion if there weren't so many, like, I still think we'd be having the discussion, but I don't think the discussion would be so pertinent if, the law was practiced equally, even though the law itself is still nonsensical. I don't think the conversation would be, I guess, people would have the urge to talk about it as much.
You think if there was a system of justice, right, and we were still living in a society where marijuana was illegal, so the jails actually looked like,
or if the
jails actually looked like what it should look like, do you think marijuana would still be illegal?
I think it's a combination of it, but like Stanford was still illegal. It was still illegal, but you just got fined for it. If jail wasn't a part of it, I don't think we'd be having this discussion.
But if jail was a part of it,
since jail is a part of it,
jail. But I'm saying if the justice system targeted individuals just based on their drug use, not based on color, and there were more white people in jail for the same crimes, I think that would cause politicians to say, you know what? Let's reduce it to fines. Let's get rid of it entirely.
Yeah, I do think if... Wait a second. So the conversation will be sparked by them now?
More white people in jail?
Well, not necessarily... Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there was a former police officer. I forgot his name. I forgot what city he was in, but I want to say it was Cleveland, and he actually was like, "Yo, why don't we go into these other neighborhoods, and start enforcing the same kind of drug policies and use the same tactics and go shake them down?
Yeah.
Why don't we go into the schools and like do the same thing we do in urban schools? Like they'll just have random pat downs." It's like, why don't we do that in those other neighborhoods? You know, the response he got is because he says those people have power.
Yeah, they have influence.
That's
and
right.
They wouldn't take too kindly
to
that.
He said, I'll be getting calls. I'll be getting tons of calls the next day.
Exactly. So you lean into the most disenfranchised people, because you're not going to get those same calls. Or if you do get those calls, you can just disregard them.
Yeah, because they don't have any influence. They don't have any money. They don't have any connections. You can shit on people without connections.
That's right. All right. What do we have left, man? Let's go to Rakim Balagun. The black.
The black extremist.
Yeah, the black identity extremist.
Black identity extremist. Yes.
All right. Because this kind of connects, right? All right, so In what seemed to be a typical morning on December 12th, 2017, Rakim Balagun and his 15-year-old son were home when they were suddenly startled by some crashing sounds and some screaming. It was the FBI. They were there to arrest Balagun. He states that it felt like it had to be some mistake, that they were given some kind of faulty information or something, but that was not the case. The FBI were indeed looking for him, and they were there to arrest him. He said he learned that the FBI agents were investigating domestic terrorism and had been monitoring for him for years. The reason, Facebook post,
and there was they said he was a part of some protest.
Yeah, it was like some rally. Yeah.
Now they didn't even show footage or pictures of him.
Right.
They just said you were there, and there were certain things that were said by some of the protesters that we didn't like, but since you were there, you're on our target list.
Right. It was a rally in March 2015. It was protesting against law enforcement, and they learned of the protest from a video on InfoWars. InfoWars being the show that Alex Jones, the conspiracy theorist, the right-wing conspiracy theorist, he hosts. So again, yeah, there was nothing that they could tie to actually this particular individual, Rakim Balagun, and attributing it to that rally, like him doing any kind of violence or throwing
like
stuff.
Vandalism.
He
was just there.
No, he was just there. So yeah, that and some Facebook posts that were critical of law enforcement. That's why they had him under monitoring. They were monitoring him, and that's why they ultimately came to his home to arrest him. So Balagun, he spoke to The Guardian last week in his first interview since being released from prison. He was locked up for 5 months. He was locked up for 5 months. He was denied bail. This was all why U.S. attorneys tried and they failed to prosecute him. So they accused him of being a threat to law enforcement and an illegal gun owner. So this is from The Guardian. Balagun, who lost his home and more while incarcerated, is believed to be the first person targeted and prosecuted under a secretive U.S. surveillance effort to track so-called black identity extremists. In a leaked August 2017 report from the FBI's Domestic Terrorism Analysis Unit, officials claimed that there had been a resurgence in ideologically motivated violent criminal activity stemming from African Americans' perceptions of police brutality.
Now, the FBI did not actually present data to prove that.
No, they kind of pushed back on that.
They kind of pushed, yeah. They didn't actually present any data to prove that there was some sort of increase in kind of what you call like revolutionary activity. Right. They did point to one instance where someone, specifically black, killed cops, which is kind of interesting because between 75 and 80% of people killed by cops are not black.
Right.
So they used this one instance where someone black who wasn't even connected to any groups at all.
Yeah. Didn't signal his affiliation with Black Lives Matter or anything. Actually, he was critical of Black Lives Matter. Yeah, this was the Dallas incident where
he actually thought Black Lives Matter
killed
was
5
weak.
officers. Yeah, exactly.
He thought
weak.
He thought that people who were a part of Black Lives Matter should be more aggressive,
right,
and target police officers
like he was doing.
Yeah.
So investigators began monitoring Balagun. It was after that March 2015 rally. The FBI, there's a special agent named Aaron Keeley, and he's the one that testified in court. He said that, like Mike was saying, that there were no specific actions of Balagun's at the rally, but he said that the marchers' anti-police statements such as "oink oink bang bang" and "the only good pig is the only good pig is a pig that's dead." He noted those comments at the in court.
He only noted the comments made by other people. But since he was there, that means the same thing as Balagun making a threat to police.
Yes,
since he was there.
If there are a chance of oink oink, what was it? Oink oink bang bang. Then and he's there. That means that he is saying that as well, even though you can't prove that he was saying it's ridiculous, man. It only gets even more ridiculous. So this Special Agent Aaron Keeley, he also said that there were a number of Balogun's Facebook posts calling a murder suspect in a police officer's death a hero. He expressed solidarity with the man who killed officers in Texas. He posted Balogun. He posted, "They deserve what they got." Okay. So, Keeley though had to admit that there was nothing concrete that he could attribute as in like a certain threat directly made to law enforcement.
Like actual actions.
Yes, there was no actual evidence of that.
No evidence that he was planning something. No evidence that he was encouraging like a specific person to do this. Nothing that pointed to an actual, like he was an actual threat. He is doing things that lead us to believe he himself is going to commit an act against police officers. There was nothing they can point to. Just that they just targeted him because they didn't like the things that he said about police officers.
Right. So and those particular comments, like when he was expressing solidarity with the guy that killed those 5 officers in Dallas, and then when he posted "They deserve what they got," when he spoke with The Guardian, Balogun said that he was angry with the deaths of Alton Sterling and Philando Castile, and he was venting on Facebook. This is what he said. This is per The Guardian. He was particularly disgusted with the way the media and law enforcement officials portrayed the killings as justified, and said that when he wrote those posts, quote, "I just mimicked their reactions to our killings."
Oh, so there's some context there.
There's a lot of context because, again, we see that a lot. It's their fault. It's their fault. They, these weren't like good guys. They made some actions, some threatening actions. They weren't obeying commands. It's their fault that they were shot and killed.
And you have a lot of law enforcement that unconditionally supports their fellow officer regardless of what happens.
Yes.
So in essence, if anyone's a threat, or if anyone's a threat to anyone's life, it's more likely police officers, not this dude. He doesn't have the power to be a threat, and they do. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly. So again, like the particular things that he said, they deserve what they got. Again, he gave context to The Guardian, saying that wasn't actually what he meant. He was just mimicking what the response was from law enforcement and individuals.
Because they say that too. Well, you shouldn't have ran.
Exactly. So I don't agree that those officers that were killed in Dallas deserved what they got. I'm not somebody that can co-sign that statement. I understand what he meant by it, but I'm not going to be supportive of that comment. But still, what threatening remark did he make on Facebook, or what did he actually do to be in prison for 5 months?
Like you said,
what did he do?
Even if there was no context to that statement, he was like adamant, saying, "Yeah, they deserve what they got. I'm glad." Like even if he was gloating,
you still got nothing.
You still got nothing.
Now, I guess noting that, was there a reason for, FBI officials to monitor him? You could possibly say yes. But you could possibly say yes because they're, especially like with the Parkland thing, with the perpetrator, he was on different social media things and he was saying a lot of different things.
But he was saying making
it is a little different.
Like he was actually saying like, "I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the next school shooter. Yeah.
I have these views about certain people. I think this." So there was a lot of context there.
There was more malice.
But even with that, they didn't barge into.
That's right.
And that's what I'm talking about. Like most of the time when there's some sort of threat to the threat of domestic terrorism from whoever, like Muggs about to bomb a mosque or they're about to bomb a government building. If there's some sort of threat and this person is, on social media, making the threats public, what do they usually do? They go to the person's house with the intent of questioning them. Yeah. That's how it always usually goes down.
Not breaking in. Getting them out of their house. Him and his son,
no warning.
Yeah, him and his son were in just in their underwear. I think they were woken up too. And then, like I say, he was in prison. He was denied bail, so he was denied due process.
So basically, what happened was they basically proved his point.
Yeah.
So they were mad about the things he said about police. So they decided to do the things
that he thought you were.
He thought, like he said, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You proved exactly who you thought they were. Yeah. And it's crazy. Again, like, the point I was making is, like, in some cases, you can understand where the FBI is going to be monitoring somebody. Like, if they think, like, hey, you know, they're saying some things, I'm going to monitor them.
Yeah, like when you make a threat towards, like, a government official, a president. But again...
But even if it's not a threat, even if it's just, like, a line of post, like a narrative, like, you think, like, oh, this person... this person might get dangerous. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just saying that I understand that there will be eyes watching, and that's understandable.
And you're okay with the eyes,
yes,
from their perspective,
yes.
And we understand that in some cases the FBI or law enforcement might want to question, but to just like to just kind of like skip that part,
right,
and just go into apprehending,
forceful arrest, denying bail, denying due process, locking this dude up for 5 months. As a result,
he lost his house.
Yeah, lost his house, lost his job, lost his vehicle. His son was forced to move and transfer schools. Balogun, he has a newborn daughter. He missed the first part of her life, most of the first year of her life. It's like for something that he didn't do.
This is like Minority Report, man.
Yeah.
Literally.
Exactly, right? They created a threat. They created the threat and attributed it to this guy who didn't threaten anybody, and you can't prove that he did as well. Look, this is probably the most dangerous thing in America right here. Black man with a gun. Without the gun, it's a very dangerous thing in America. With the gun, could be the most dangerous thing here.
Well, the other weapon he actually used and they felt the most threatened by was his tongue.
Yep. It's a damn shame, man. And I don't know what recourse he has.
Like a lawsuit, because he lost so much.
Yeah.
He lost so much, and he wasn't charged. They couldn't bring any charges on him, and I don't even think that was the intent. You can't tell me that they didn't know they couldn't, prove this case in court. You can't tell me that. This was sheer intimidation.
They had no evidence. See, they were trying, like, they were just hoping that they would stumble onto something. And see, yes, they were hoping that they could.
Oh no, I know all about that. I know all about that.
That's know that. So there was a 1 count indictment for Balogun, right? And it was for illegal firearm possession because they obtained from his possession a gun that they said that he was in the possession of illegally, and this was due to a 2007 misdemeanor domestic assault case. But a judge this month said that he was rejecting that charge, saying that the firearms law did not apply. So that was the only charge that I guess
because
they had a dream at making stick, but it didn't stick, and now I guess they had to release him.
So they were looking for anything to justify imprisoning him.
Yes, and they were just searching for 5 months. All they had was this firearm charge that didn't stick, and now they're out of material. They got nothing else because he didn't threaten anybody. He didn't hurt anybody. He's just expressing his opinion on Facebook. No matter what you think about his opinion, it's not criminal. But he was in jail for 5 months.
Like make any like direct threats to law enforcement or direct threats to a representative of some sort,
like an individual or institution or anything. Yeah. Like, you may consider what he said, even if it's disgusting or whatever. You may not be a supportive of what he said. And like I said, I don't support the actual comment. I understand why he made that comment. But even if you think it's like, oh, it was way too far, you can't say that it's disgusting. You can't lock somebody up for that. I hope there's a recourse, man. Because whoever was involved in this arrest exceeded their authority. And they took 5 months out of this man's life. They took away 5 of his months, man. No bail.
I just think it's funny how they just got all like threatened and scared and shaking in their boots for just this one dude. This one dude.
One guy, man.
Well, I wish they just kind of shake down our politicians like this, boy.
I know, right? All right, let's go to the other law enforcement story, the Missouri one.
Oh yeah. This is an interesting one.
This is interesting. Okay, so just this past Friday, a Missouri teenager named Mason Ferris was charged with second-degree murder after police accidentally killed a 21-year-old mother of 2 who was trying to help them arrest Ferris for probation violations. So this actually happened on the actual incident actually happened on May 5th. Okay, so the name of the woman that was killed is Savannah Hill, and she was in a vehicle with Ferris when they stopped at a gas station. There, she called the police and conspired with them to have her vehicle pulled over. So she was driving, and she figured that he wouldn't be able to get out of the vehicle and make a run for it, escape, because she had activated childproof locks. So she was just going to keep the doors locked. The police officers were going to pull her over. They were going to come, arrest them, end of story, right? Well, that's not what happened. So they did get pulled over. Ferris, noticing that there were police officers behind them, he climbed into the front seat and shoved Hill's foot down on the pedal to make a getaway. The car at the time was in reverse.
Already in reverse.
It was already in reverse.
Remember that.
Yes, the car was already in reverse, okay? So he pushed down on the pedal, so it went backwards, right? So there was an officer that was right there in the way. And that officer is Officer Chris Kozizek. I can't even say that name. Kozizek. But the car, like I said, accelerated backwards and it hit that officer. So in response to that officer being hit, there was a second officer on the scene, Officer David Chapman, who fired into the vehicle and ultimately killed Savannah Hill. So she died. She survived for a little while, but she just died just yesterday on Monday. When this story first broke, there was a particular narrative that was being pushed.
Pushed by who?
Law enforcement.
Law enforcement. Okay.
Yeah, we gotta note that.
Yeah,
gotta be very specific. So the story that the media was getting from law enforcement is that Savannah Hill was guilty of, I guess, trying to get away. Yeah, trying to get away, and the car sped backwards, and to protect his fellow officer, and because they were in fear for their lives, Officer Chapman fired into the vehicle to stop them. Because like I say, they had just hit another officer. That is not really in line with what I just said, though. The beginning of the story and how Savannah Hill had actually conspired with police officers to arrest the man that she was with, Ferris.
She was pretty much like the narc.
She was the narc.
She was the narc in all this. But the problem I have with how it was kind of contextualized in the report, they made it sound like Hill was kind of like the initiator of all this. Because in the report, it says, I'm continuing from a middle point because that's all that's necessary. It says Hill, who was aware of his legal problems, Ferris, and attempted to help police take him into custody. Calling police from a gas station, the woman conspired with police to have her car pulled over with Ferris in it, where he couldn't be taken into custody after being trapped inside due to the childproof locks. Now, like kind of the way you were seeing it was like she may have like gave them assistance on like the ideas on how to keep him there,
right? But the childproof lock, the way they kind of like outlined it, just the way that it's written in their report, they made it sound like it was some sort of like, I know him, let me help you get him. Right. I know he has warrants, let me help you get him. I just don't like the whole like
kind of like the passive take they took in the report. They made it sound like it was like, oh, she was just ready to cooperate with us. And I was like, nah, you knew she knew this person. You knew she knew Ferris.
Right. So that's why it's a problem, because when it was originally reported, law enforcement would have had to known that she was in communication with them, and that her and law enforcement had conspired to execute a traffic stop.
Yeah, I was confused because like from the comments from one of the sons of the police officers, and one of the comments from the family members, because according to them, they were relieved that their daughter's name was cleared.
Right. It was the father. Chris Nethery. Chris Nethery. He made some statements saying that.
So when I read that, I was like, why are you waiting for your daughter's name to be cleared if police didn't think that your daughter was the one who initiated the car going in reverse and trying to escape? The police were well aware, because they were the ones who set it up.
Exactly. With
Savannah Hill.
So they would have had to. Of course they knew, because it was a.
So why are they?
It was a conspiracy against Ferris.
So why? Apparently, that's what's shady about it. So what that tells me is that police officers did not inform her family that she was in on it.
Right. So from the time that this happened, from May 5th up until now, law enforcement, the official story was that Savannah Hill was guilty. She was guilty of trying to get away from this scene and trying to escape with Ferris.
And that was the assessment that law enforcement made from the jump.
Right. But how do you make that, like, how do you communicate that to the media when you know full well that she was in on it and she was trying to get this dude
But why would
arrested?
you do that if you didn't know what actually happened? You didn't, because they didn't know what transpired in the car. Well, later on, they did. I don't know. They must have gotten a statement from her before she died, or they must have gotten a statement before or from Ferris, because in their report, what did it say? Like, he jumped in the front seat and forced her foot down, and it was in reverse. Number one, it's weird because again, the way they kind of outline their report and their story, the car was already pulled over. Right, they pulled the car over, and that's when he notices that the cops were coming, and they surrounded him. That's when he was like, "Oh hell, now I got to get up out of here." Why was the car already in reverse? Is my question.
Yeah, we don't know that.
That just doesn't make sense.
I don't know about
and
that.
Again, that was their report. So again, I don't know where they're getting that from, because I don't know how they know the car was already in reverse unless they saw like the white lights and the tail light. So that I don't know. But what I do know is, why wasn't her family? Why did her family have to wait for her name to be cleared? Because that's what she said. Because I knew my daughter wasn't involved in this. But again, that's the way the police made it sound to them when the story, when the event happened.
And they had all the information.
They had all the information,
knowing that Hill was trying to create a situation where he could be arrested, I guess peacefully, without incident.
But again, what was the probation in regard to?
It
wasn't it was meth or something?
Yeah, it was meth. That's right.
Meth.
Yeah, that's right. It was.
So
meth.
let's get this straight. You kind of employ a civilian to help you capture someone who is on probation and addicted to meth in some way. That can't possibly end, that can't possibly end in devastation in any kind of way.
Like the dude might try to like employ some erratic behavior.
Like exactly. Like, did you not consider that? Like they put this person like in a situation. I'm like, again, we don't know all the details behind like the things that they told her, but obviously he felt he could get away. The second thing that jumps out at me is, I think the cops initially thought that she was trying to get away, and they don't want to admit it.
Because she changed her mind.
Yeah, she changed her mind because all the shots went into her side.
See, that's the thing that struck me though. Okay, I understand that there was a police officer that was hit, right? There were more. Okay, so there were 3 occupants in this vehicle. There was another female in the vehicle as well. So there was Savannah Hill, another female, and there was Ferris in the vehicle. These police officers are knowing that Savannah Hill are with them. I mean, it like if they're that close, it doesn't make sense to me that they couldn't see Ferris leap over to the front.
And didn't it say there was somebody else in the car too?
Yeah, like I said, there was another female.
There was Savannah Hill,
another female, and Ferris.
And the Ferris.
Yeah.
So they see the car back up. Now Ferris is the ultimate target.
Right. That's very reckless behavior to fire into the vehicle.
And again, Ferris is the only target actually. Yes. So in that moment, I am to believe that when that car went in reverse and hit that officer, I think in their minds they thought that Savannah Hill had kind of, I guess, gone back on the whole thing. It doesn't make sense. But again,
that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
But again, in that moment, all you see is your boy get hit by the car.
By the car.
And so at that point, I guess the instinctual reaction is to shoot into the car. But again, it doesn't make sense because y'all set that up, and there's other people in the car who are pretty much not dangerous. There's 2 people in the car who are not dangerous.
This is law enforcement's fault.
But who got charged?
It was Ferris that got charged with second-degree murder. Because there was somebody, because of his actions, because he was, I guess, evading capture. He was charged with the murder, with the death of Savannah Hill. Which, I mean, I can understand where you could, but it seems like some more charges should be. I mean, it sounds like some more charges should be coming as it relates to Officer David Chapman firing into the vehicle. You didn't even get the person that you were intending to arrest.
You killed the
narc.
The narc. I mean, I understand the spirit of the law in the commission of a crime, yada yada.
Yeah, I
understand the spirit of the law. The whole criminal's responsible. Even if their criminal intent, wasn't to commit murder. You commit a robbery and you end up, something bad ends up happening, or you with other people that are committing a robbery and one of them, kills, the clerk or something. I totally understand that. But how far does it go? How far can you go with it?
I don't know.
Is there any limits on that? Let's say someone's robbing a CVS or a convenience store, and there's a woman or a man who, I guess, is startled by this and can't handle it, has a heart attack and dies.
You probably could be charged.
Could you be charged with that?
You probably could, man. You probably could.
What if someone's running away from the cops and that there's a crowd and the cops decide to open fire and hit some people in the crowd and injure or kill some people? Is that person who was running away responsible for that? There was actually a situation in New York where that actually happened, where there was some people trying to get away from the cops, and the cops would actually start shooting and they actually hit people in the crowd. Luckily, no one died, but they actually hit people in the crowd. Whose fault is that?
I think no. If an officer can claim that they are fearful of their lives being taken, then whatever suspect that they're trying to apprehend, I believe that suspect can be charged with that death. Yeah, no matter the situation. If the cop can claim I was in fear for my life, then that person they're trying to get, they can be charged, man. The more, like Gene asked, what's the moral of this story? The moral of this story is don't call the cops. Now, let me kind of
be careful of how you want to involve yourself in helping the cops.
That's what, like there's definitely situations where you have to call the cops for help. Definitely situations. But if you're trying to help the cops get somebody, don't do that. And if you do that, make sure you're not around. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that nobody is around. Like when you set up this particular individual,
directly involved in the jump. Like, I mean, to me, that's no different than like a cop come up to me and say, "Hey, man, like we gonna be chasing this dude down this corridor or down this alley. What we gonna need you to do is we need you to like step in front of him." I know this is hypothetical, but we need to step in front of him and trip him up, or just like hold him up. I'd be like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't know what this person has.
Like this.
What are you gonna do to protect me here?
Exactly.
Like, I'm not law enforcement. Like, what are you gonna provide to me? And that's the thing I have. That's why I have a problem with it. Like,
yeah, she wasn't providing.
Any kind of protection. I mean, like I said,
this was no safer than some underground scene where there's like some violent drug deal taking place, right? Like some killers, right? Like it didn't even have to be drugs. Like maybe they're selling weapons, right? Some underground weapons deal, right? There's killers here. Good Samaritan. Hey, I'm gonna help take him down, and I'm gonna be there. Come on, come get him. No, do not call the cops and involve yourself. If something is happening where you think the cops, should be directing their attention towards, cool, but don't like put yourself in harm's way. That's ridiculous.
Well, again, in situations where they kind of employ some sort of like narc or snitch or something, there's usually like a contingency plan. Like,
man, you got one life, dog.
And that's the thing. So I just don't understand. Like you said, you mean to tell me they didn't have no eyes on the car? They'd have no eyes on the car? Like, wouldn't they have seen Ferris like jump from the back seat?
Exactly.
Wouldn't they have seen that?
They should have seen it.
I want to know what kind of car it was. It was a 4-door because they had child locks. So they had eyes on him. The windows weren't tinted as far as I knew.
I was gonna say maybe it was blacked out or something.
Because again, if he's in the back seat, you can see in the back seat, like if you're looking at a car from the back, you can see in the back seat. No matter what time of day it is, you can see what in the back seat. If you're on the side, you can see in the side of the car what that person is doing in the back seat. So they didn't see Ferris jump over and jump in the car. Like, where were they? They didn't see, so they just started shooting. Something doesn't make sense.
You think they're gonna admit to seeing it?
I think they fucked up. I would love to see that body cam.
Hill's father, Chris Nethery, he said, there are bad officers just like there are good officers. Which ones were involved in this one's, I have no idea.
Why would he say that? Why would he say that knowing good and well that this was a sting gone bad? Why would he say that? That just seems so cryptic to me.
It does. This looks like errors all around the place, man. Mistakes, just a horrible strategy was employed. It's just like
all for probation.
Yeah, like if you're trying to get somebody on a probation violation, don't involve other people. Like, you could have told that woman, like, hey, I appreciate your help. Maybe you can tell us where you're gonna be, maybe, and we'll monitor it. Maybe I don't even know about that because I'm putting you. Maybe are you gonna drop him off somewhere?
How about like take him out to lunch? Take him out to lunch, and like when he's gonna be in one of the booths, right?
Yeah.
And then like most of these places, like I don't care if it's like Wendy's or McDonald's. I don't get what kind of restaurant is Apple, whatever it is. What kind of little Taco Bell? There's only like 1 or 2 exits. Why don't you just like, hey, take him out to lunch, and when he walks out, we'll get him. But locking him into a car,
like a moving vehicle, man. Like, I mean, like he
locking him into a car. I just don't think that's gonna end well.
He didn't. I don't think he had a weapon on him or anything like that. So it's just you want to take away a weapon from him, a moving vehicle, like 2 tons of metal. You want to take that away from him. You don't want him to have access to like actually maneuver that weapon. That should be pretty straightforward, you know. Like, I don't understand how. Whatever, man. Sad loss of life there,
again,
man.
What like, if he did have some sort of weapon, he could have held him hostage.
That's what I'm saying. You want to take that away. Get him out of the vehicle. You don't want to keep him inside. If you wanted to keep him inside, then you should have instructed those 2 women that were in there to get out as soon as you pulled it over. If you had to employ that strategy, stop the car, get out the vehicle
immediately. Get out immediately.
Take the keys.
Shut the car down and get out. That would have ended it. Like, why do they have to? Yeah, it was a bad strategy. Because as soon as they got pulled over, because that was the plan. Hey, we'll pull your car over. As soon as she pulled over, it was done. He knew what the deal was. Cops are involved.
Right. It was dumb.
No, that's the thing. They just tipped him off. Like, again, they could have. It didn't even have to be a situation where they pulled him over. She could have pulled into like a parking lot somewhere and just jumped out immediately, and they would have been right there.
I know. Or maybe they could have just showed up at the gas station. Because she was inside making the call. Hey, my stomach is messed up, man. I'm gonna have to be in the bathroom for a while. We can't leave yet.
My bad. Yeah, I got a bubble guts.
You go instructed the. It was just. We've seen bad police tactics before. This just adds to it, man. This just adds to it. All right, we got one more. I think we only got one more, right? I guess we got a couple more, but let's do one more, actually. Let's do that. The teacher.
Yeah, we can do that one.
All right. So, an elementary school teacher in Texas has filed a lawsuit against the school district alleging discrimination. Stacey Bailey is a 2-time Teacher of the Year at Charlotte Anderson Elementary School in Arlington, Texas. She's also a lesbian. In August, on the first day of school, Bailey showed a slideshow to her students as a way of them getting to know her. It included members of Bailey's family, her friends, and a woman who she described as her future wife. So later in the week, according to a court filing, Bailey was told a parent had complained about the teacher promoting a, quote, homosexual agenda. Now, this was one parent complaint. I have to note that it was just one parent complaint. But after that complaint, a school district official met with Bailey and told her, quote, you can't promote your lifestyle in the classroom.
Like, since when is just somebody's sexual orientation a lifestyle? That's my question. What does that even mean? Like, how's that a lifestyle?
It's your life. It's your life. I'm not sure it's a lifestyle. It's just a life.
Yeah, I know it's just a life. It's not like it's not like lesbians do different shit.
Exactly.
They do the same shit everybody else does.
The same stuff, right?
They go to the beach.
Yep.
They go get ice cream.
Yep.
They play with they pets.
Yep.
Like
take vacations.
They
do everything other people do.
They dress up for Halloween. So it's not like, you know what I'm saying? It's not a lifestyle. You just with somebody that's your same sex and your same gender, and you're doing the same stuff that everybody else is doing in their life.
So she responded, quote, we plan to get married. When I have a wife, I should be able to say that this is my wife without fear of harassment. When I state that, it is a fact about my life, not a political statement. So in response, the official is quoted as replying, well, right now, it kind of is. It kind of is a political statement. Just because I had a picture of my soon-to-be wife and I actually had the gall to tell the children that this was going to be my future wife. That's a political statement.
No, this is the clearest case of discrimination, though. Without a doubt, no questions.
Yeah. Like, it should take like 2 minutes to resolve this.
Yeah, she was a teacher for 10 years. She was, Teacher of the Year twice?
Yep.
Which, that's something that's peer-reviewed. Like, that's, I think, I could be wrong. I think that's something like other teachers vote on. That's something that's like that's like some sort of like consensus amongst the teachers like at your school. So I mean, so there's no question about her qualifications. So yeah, I hope she wins, dog. She about to get broke off.
Yeah, she could, man. I like I said, like you said, the clearest case of discrimination, and I think it should. It doesn't take a lot to see that there was clear discrimination. So the court document says that Bailey was asked to resign in October, but she refused to do so. So then after that, she was put on administrative leave, and then she's been on administrative leave ever since, suspended. And there are plans now to send her to another school, transfer her to another school, a secondary school, probably a high school, because they don't want her impacting the minds of young children anymore.
The district denied any allegations of discrimination.
Yes, they do.
And
categorically,
and they said their decision was based on the teacher feeling that she had the right to have ongoing discussions about her sexual orientation. Right. But is that really what she did, though? Is that really what she was doing? Like, she was just like, is that what she was doing? Like, was she having like discussions? Like, so there was no like indication of what those discussions like consisted of. Like, it's not like she comes into class and it's like, "Hey kids, I'm a lesbian. Now let's take a quiz." I mean,
now that would be strange.
That would be real.
That would be strange. But to prompt something like this, it would have to even be more than that. It would have to be like, "Hey, I'm a lesbian. That's the best way to be." It'd have to be something like that.
"I'm a lesbian. Do you know how me and my girlfriend have sex? Do you know what sex is? Well, I'm gonna show you." Like, that's not how. I doubt that's how it goes down.
But see, okay, so again, this was based on the complaint of one parent. Okay, this was based on the complaint of one parent, and the way I see it is this. Okay, so even if it was 2 parents or 10 parents, basically what this complaint is saying is, you know what? I'm uncomfortable, me personally, not my children. I'm uncomfortable with homosexual people existing. So I think I don't want to really put that on my kids. Like, they shouldn't know about that. So you being lesbian, you need to hide that from my kids. I'm not comfortable with that at all. So you're uncomfortable with your children knowing what exists in society. Not like it's like something damaging in society, like people getting killed, like mugs, like doing like very dangerous drugs and stuff like that, and just all sorts of like chaotic, very extreme type things. No, you're concerned that 2 people love each other, and that information being learned by your child.
And she was a teacher for 10 years, so I'm pretty sure this wasn't like the first time she showed pictures. Do you see what I'm saying? So she was a teacher for 10 years.
And I believe that, the district knew, or they say that they knew that she was lesbian, but they say that there was a quote from the district. It said, Mrs. Bailey has been a teacher with Mansfield ISD for a decade. During her tenure with the district, there has never been an issue with her open sexual preferences until this year. That's when her actions in the classroom changed, which prompted her students to voice concerns to their parents.
Oh, yes. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Her students voice complaints. She's in an elementary school. And guess what? I don't care. If an elementary school kid voiced a complaint, that means that there's an environment in that kid's household,
exactly,
that would even like get them to. But what would they complain about?
You know what? It can't
be a complaint.
No, it's not a complaint. They brought it up, maybe. Like, they brought it up. Hey, I saw, my teacher's she's marrying a woman. And then the parent has a complaint. Not the student.
See, that's what it's about. And it's not just about the sexual orientation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it is about. It's about sex.
Yes.
That's what it's about. It's about like the actual act of sex.
But these kids aren't being taught sex.
They're not even there yet.
they're not even thinking about sex.
We're not thinking about it in that way. And I think the parents are the ones thinking about it.
Yep.
So they're the ones uncomfortable. But when we were coming up, I recall teachers having like pictures of their family
all the time
on their desk.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah, it was customary.
It was customary.
So first day, she shows her students her family. Should be nothing here. Again, like even if you're somebody, you know, even if you're somebody that does not believe in marriage equality, all right, you have that right. I think it's a very bigoted, really. I mean, I think it's intolerant. But anyway, you have the right to feel like that. But you don't get to deny the existence of homosexual people. You don't get to treat them like they're actually different than anybody else, like any other kind of human. Like you just can't deny their existence. So to deny their existence to your children is doing what? Like, you're not doing them any favors, because now you just, well, I guess they want them to come up just like them, right? Have bigoted positions, right?
Not just have, yeah. And I think it's no matter how you look at it, no matter how you soft shoe it, no matter how they present it as parents, the result is going to be teaching their kids how to be bigots.
Right.
I mean, because
it's gonna always be strange and not normal. So
because, like, think about, like,
you're setting them up.
Teachers routinely get pregnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to constantly like answer questions from kids.
How'd you get that baby in your stomach?
How'd you get that baby in your stomach?
That's about sex, right?
That's about sex.
But they don't answer it in that kind of manner, right?
Answer it in that kind of manner. Like I said, if she ain't up in class with like doll babies, female doll babies and stuff. See, here's what me and my girlfriend do. Like for real, like, God.
This is nothing, man. Of course, I mean, kids are gonna have questions. So I put it, of course, I'm sure that these kids did come to the parents and told them what happened in school their first day, and hey, this is what I learned about my teacher. And if they've never seen that before, it might be strange to them, and they might go to the parents and say, hey, like what's this? I haven't seen that before.
And so your job as a parent would be like, okay, there are some people that like boys.
Yes.
Some people who like girls.
Yes.
Some people who like both.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And see, that's not going to be strange for them because they're learning information. Everything is strange at first.
Everything is strange at first. Yes. Yes.
What this school district should have done, because again, this was one parent that complained. One parent that complained. What this school district should have done would be like, how about you educate your kids? This is not a real complaint. She didn't do anything that should be frowned upon at all. She has a partner in life, and she showed it to her kids just like any other teacher does. I don't know. I mean, like, if you don't want to be exposed to what happens in life, then you're gonna have to get out of life. You're gonna have to seclude yourself.
Yo,
I don't know what you want me to do here.
If she had been talking about her husband, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be talking about it. No. It wouldn't be an issue if she had showed a picture of her boyfriend.
Because that's normal.
Or her husband.
Because that's normal to this one parent that complained.
I guarantee you, she probably could have been more detailed, even more explicit. I guarantee you, she could have said some things and got away with a lot more if she was straight.
I'm sure she could have showed a picture of her husband and her kissing.
I bet. Smooching. Slobbing.
Maybe there was some video she showed him where her husband slapped her behind.
I don't know about that. They probably, you know what?
I'm not talking about like sexually. I'm just talking about like.
Oh, I know. I know. Come here, honey pie.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, okay, I see.
You're going too far. Nah. Just playfully. It would have been nothing. But two women standing by each other, whatever, and then the teacher saying, "This is gonna be my future wife." That is completely unacceptable.
She could have probably showed pictures of them sitting on the couch, cuddling and watching a movie, eating popcorn
on his lap.
Perfectly fine.
Totally fine. One parent, man. One parent, and this was the response from the school district. One parent. Was this Texas?
Texas.
This is in Texas.
Texas.
This is in Texas. Yeah. All right, I think we got through everything that I think we needed to get through. I think there's one other one we didn't get to, but that can wait. That right there. Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
We can wait on that. Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's the end of the show. So what we're gonna do is set it up for people to call in. If you have any comments or questions for us, please feel free to dial in at 669-900-6833 and we can get you on the air. Let me set this up real quick. Let's see. Which one is which?
And as we're setting up the environment so we can take calls, I want to go ahead and highlight the people that have contributed to the super chat tonight. Again, we always appreciate that. And we got 4 people. Looks like we got Gaillard sliding over some cheddar. Got Ninjax X doing the same thing. Aaron Barnett and Jeremy. So once again, we appreciate that. It is much appreciated. It helps us make changes to our show to make the broadcast much better for y'all, so we can bring y'all that high quality
with all that buffering.
I know, right?
We gotta do something about that, man. Maybe I need to tinker with the settings because it happens. Like, it just happens
randomly.
I don't even know what. I don't understand what. I got no thought. I don't even understand it. I don't know how it happens, but it happens, and it doesn't happen every stream either. It doesn't.
No, for the most part, it doesn't happen at all.
Yeah, I don't know why it does it. All right, hold on, Link. I think everything looks good here.
Let's see if I know sometimes when they submit some super chat funds, they ask questions.
So Gaillard didn't say anything. Ninja X, Manhattan wants to stop prosecuting low-level marijuana arrests.
What is that? Some Cuomo shit?
Yeah,
I think that's some Cuomo shit.
Probably.
Oh, that shit. I think that was a message to people in the chat.
Okay. Jeremiah said, "Thanks for the real updates."
Somebody, I think it was Moose Gal. She asked us if we saw that cop shoot that groundhog. But yes, we did see that. Yeah, we did see that, Moose Gal. Yes, it's Maryland deputy shoots groundhog. Yeah, we saw that. That jump was weird, man. That jump was really weird.
I saw the explanation though. So the apparently because the first day I saw it, we were like, oh my gosh, man, this is tragic, right? I mean, like it seemed to be no reason to do that. But then
rabies? Did they have rabies?
So the next day I checked it, and apparently I don't think it was the officer that was involved that was actually speaking. I believe it was his precinct, and they said that the officer believed what was it again?
Groundhog.
It was a groundhog. Okay. The officer believed the groundhog was acting very suspiciously, like it wasn't behaving the
like
way
a normal
it should,
groundhog,
like a normal groundhog, right? So the officer thought there was something up, and it was actually going to endanger the community. So he got it off of the street and then shot it.
It was already off the street, though. It was on one side of the street, and he was going like this to try to get it to come over.
I don't know.
And as it came over, he got in position and got down on one knee.
Yeah.
And shot it square, and where I don't know where it hit, but
I don't understand it.
It was just weird to me, man. I was like
how does a groundhog act?
But I read,
is it supposed to like respond to commands from a human
being?
Like that? Like very like a human would respond?
Supposed to be like
hey, come on across the street.
Come on across the street. Or did the groundhog just not answer questions like, hey dude, where are you from? You know what I'm saying? Where do you live at? You know, do you have a mother or father? Are you out here alone? Like,
I don't know what happened.
But the other statement that I read was I read that the officer was in fear for his life. That was the other statement.
Yeah, that came out the first day.
Yeah,
the first day, and that was like, no, he didn't. The groundhog didn't charge at him or anything. He was trying to get off the street, like the officer was trying to get him to do.
It was going like it was basically coaxing him to the other side. So the officer was inviting the groundhog,
the threat,
in his direction. And again, if we're going to talk about being in fear for your life, as far as I read, the groundhog's top speed is 8 miles an hour.
And the officer was able to calmly get out his gun and shoot it.
Actually,
calmly
kneel down on one knee.
Yeah, target practice.
He must have wanted to use that gun real bad. Again, if it's an animal, you call animal control, right? Why do we deal with everything?
There were cars on the street too. Why would you empty your gun? Not empty it, but I mean, why would you fire a round when there are other people? I know that. Okay, hey, you undertaken target shooting. You're a marksman. Still, I don't know why you would go to that extreme in this instance. I don't know. It was weird. All right, so we got a caller, 443. I believe this is our man Court. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on? Well, Mike, how y'all doing tonight?
Man, we doing good, bro. How about you?
Great, man.
Doing good. So I heard y'all talking about the drug arrests in New York City.
No doubt.
And you are absolutely right. You cannot take race out of it. And I will give you a name, John Ehrlichman. John Ehrlichman was an aide to Nixon. And he gave an interview 20 years after the fact. Well, actually, no. He gave an interview around the time, but the interview wasn't released until 20 years after the fact, where he basically explained the reason we went after marijuana and heroin is because we wanted to silence the anti-war left, and we wanted to silence black people. So they used marijuana and heroin to do it, because they couldn't just say, oh, we're going to arrest this person because they're black, or we're going to arrest this person because they're anti-war. And it goes back further than that. Harry J. Anslinger was actually given the task of finding a reason and a way to make marijuana illegal. So the migrant labor in California and Texas at the time, and it was the Great Depression, at the time, they would have an excuse to deport them back to wherever they came from in South America and Central America. So, farm work could be given out to poor white people who were suffering from the Great Depression. And, cocaine was made illegal because black workers on the docks in the South used to use it to stay up all night so they could move freight all night. It's preposterous to think that, a country like America, which is known for its, let's just say, more party-like nature, is going to have a problem with somebody using drugs. They don't have a problem with somebody using drugs. They have a problem with black people having a voice, and they have a problem with anti-war people having a voice, and they have a problem with Hispanic people having work, and they have a problem. It's like with opium. Opium was the same way in California when they made opium illegal in California. It's because of Chinese immigrant labor. It has nothing to do with your safety. If it has something to do with your safety, then cigarettes would be illegal, and alcohol would damn sure be illegal, because alcohol kills more people than marijuana. I mean, there's no studies on marijuana, but I mean, still, man, how many times have you turned on the news and heard about a drunk driver? Every day?
All the time. That's a regular part of life.
Yeah, I mean, a couple times. But see, alcohol is a European culture thing. Alcohol is like beer and liquor and all these things. These are tenets of European culture. So that's what the problem was with Prohibition. With Prohibition, everybody was like, well, we have to take out demon rum because it's causing people to beat their wives, and people can't show up to work the next day. And we have vagrancy, and we have problems with bums and stuff. And then, I guess they started Prohibition in 1918, and I think they ended it before the 30s. I'm not sure, but they realized, we're locking up a whole bunch of white people, and really it's about their culture. But what they learned was they put that on the back burner. What they learned was, oh, we can use this again for other people that we don't like. We just won't push up on the brakes when we see that their lives are getting ruined. So yeah, that's where that came from. That's where that came from.
Wow.
It's a long history, man.
Yeah, there's always a history behind it, man. There's always a history behind it. And the history always seems to coalesce around making sure certain people don't have power in a society and creating excuses to go after them.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So
to destroy any equal footing that they might have, man.
The criminalization of culture. It is a thing. It is a thing.
It's a disgusting thing, man. Like I said, I wasn't surprised with the story, but seeing that 93%, that's absolutely staggering. I don't think I could have imagined that it would be that high.
Oh yeah, easy. I mean, it's par for the course. It is par for the course. These laws were specifically designed to hurt minorities. There is no reason you should lock someone up for marijuana for 20, 30, 40. I mean, you go down to some states like Alabama, and you get life sentences for a quarter of weed. Now, you tell me, who in their right mind believes that tobacco, which causes hundreds of thousands of deaths a year around the world, hundreds of thousands of deaths, is more safe and more acceptable than marijuana? It's not, and it falls flat. The argument falls flat on its face. And see, the problem with the rest of the world, countries like like Indonesia and Burma and like where they had these really harsh drug laws, where they go in and they execute people. You know what I mean? That stuff is all pushed by America. All that stuff is pushed by America. Nobody had any issues at all, especially with shit like marijuana. I mean, that's not. I mean, it's a drug like it's a drug because it's a mind altering substance. It's a drug like that. But when you want to talk about hardcore, massive addiction, really high death tolls, you're looking at synthetic drugs like opiates, derivatives of opiates. You're looking at amphetamines, manufactured synthetic amphetamines. These are things which were given to us by pharmaceutical companies like Bayer. I mean, like those are the drugs that really kill people. I mean, shit, if you take enough Tylenol, you're gonna have a bad day, and by bad day, I mean you're not gonna wake up.
Right.
But that's fine though. That's fine. But if you get caught with marijuana, you go to prison. The
whole thought of like tobacco and alcohol being legal is it's mind-numbingly stupid. It just doesn't even make sense. If you're actually trying to like save people's lives, then there's no way you would allow that in our society. But it's not about that at all.
I'll put it to you like this, Will. Look at the anti-tobacco campaign that's been going on now for, say, 10, 15 years, and look at how many children have stopped smoking tobacco. Look at how many teenagers think tobacco is not cool. Look at how hard it is to go out and smoke a cigarette and not have somebody look at you sideways. Now, now answer me this. When did they make tobacco illegal?
Never.
They never did. They never made tobacco illegal, but they have slowed the uses of tobacco to almost negligible numbers now. Right. Didn't arrest one person for it.
So they want to inform our citizenry of the dangers of smoking without banning it. But
because they actually care about the citizenry that's affected by tobacco.
Right.
It's like the opioid crisis. You know what I mean? Like when black people were strung out on heroin in the 70s, and you had Nicky Barnes running around, and you had all these different dope dealers running around. Nobody thought it was a problem. You flash forward until up to the late 90s and up until today, when you have the opioid crisis and you had the heroin epidemic that started to hit the suburbs, it started to hit rural America. All of a sudden now it's a humanitarian crisis. It's an issue that requires compassion. We should go out and we should make sure that these people have access to treatment and access. We should ease up on the jail sentences and start with the therapy. It's a bullshit facade, man. It's a bullshit facade. Period. End of discussion. It's not even worth arguing. It's simple math.
Yeah. So if it's that simple, then if it's simple and just regular people
can understand
it and come to a sensible conclusion and see it for what it is, then you know good and well there's an agenda behind it.
Yeah,
it
there's
doesn't
an
really
effort,
take much,
man, like a targeted effort to deny people the truth, or to try to deny people the truth.
Right. Yeah. That's pretty much it. And I think a lot of American citizens, they've been, after so many years of DARE and so many years of anti-drug this and anti-drug that, you know, you can't even approach the average American really and say anything about drugs. I mean, marijuana's changing. You know what I mean? It's changing. Yeah. You can talk to people about weed now, but, you know, 10 years ago, you know, you had your goody two-shoes who they found out you smoked weed, and all of a sudden you were cut off.
Hell
done.
Yeah.
Done. Cut off.
And we saw
it's an indoctrination.
Yeah, we saw I don't know what city this was in or what state it was in, but we saw a press conference with law enforcement individuals talking about the dangers of CBD oil.
God. That joint was like 20-something minutes. That was like 30 minutes long.
I can't remember what city
They had all these things laid out on the table.
Right, all these products.
They even had it like in like a glass case too. Yeah. Like in displaying like, you know, how it destroys societies and the dangers behind it. It was like a bad PSA.
They called it junk and garbage. I forgot what.
We're talking about how it causes death and destruction.
Yeah.
What the
CBD oil, man? CBD oil, the stuff that won't get you high at all. It's amazing, but they have nothing but good things to say about pharmaceuticals. Oh yeah. Let's keep that up. Yeah,
no matter how many lives are lost due to the biological interactions people have.
But see, CBD oil, no, stay away from that, people. Dangerous stuff out there.
It makes me wish that, you know, the average American. It really kind of makes me wish that the average American would look beyond, you know, their bullshit television shows and their stupid Hollywood representations, and they would honestly think about the person next to them probably smokes weed. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's so frustrating when you listen to people talk, and like, you know, you listen to these people talk and they're like, oh, well, if you didn't break the law, then you wouldn't have a problem. Never, ever once question the law.
Right.
Never, ever once question the law. And then if it's them or if it's their family, now all of a sudden it's a problem. And I think a lot of that is what weed is about, because even though you did put that statistic out there that 93% of black individuals were arrested in New York City versus 7% white, right? You still around the country, a lot of white people get arrested for weed. And a lot of white people get their lives ruined because they got arrested for weed. It's like the whole opiate thing. Once it starts affecting white people, all of a sudden shit has to change. I mean, look at the states that started to decriminalize it. You know, I mean, Colorado, right? Yeah. And Washington State. And I mean, these were mostly white states. Mm-hmm. These are mostly white states, rural states. You know what I mean? To me, it's a facade, man. It's a fake. And Americans need to learn. They really need to learn that they're not superior to any other culture, and they're going to get bit. This whole exceptionalism thing, they're going to get bit.
Yeah, I do think that. Well, I do think that most Americans, specifically like ones probably like over 35, probably over 40, they don't realize how many people how many people smoke marijuana. They don't recognize how widespread it is. In a lot of the cases, they don't realize it's their own family members and sometimes their own kids. Mm-hmm. So I do think it's a perception problem as well. They think it's only certain type of people smoke marijuana, and my family and my kids and people I know, aren't those people. Now, I'm not gonna I would never throw people under the bus, but I drive for Uber, and I will tell you, most of my routes surround a university that is mostly white, and when I tell you, probably like half, maybe even more of the students that get in my car, they're either high or talk about being high. I just don't. I just think people just aren't aware of how widespread it is. I even picked up a lot of teachers who smoke.
It's widespread, man.
You know what I'm saying? I just don't think people understand how widespread it is.
And Court said something really important too. You talked about how probably, you know, white people, you know, this problem isn't affecting them. So it's just like, hey, people, just follow the rules, follow the laws, you know, you won't have a problem. Never questioning the law, right? And so that statistic that we talked about earlier, that 93% of the people arrested were people of color, that's how that continues to happen. They don't have to deal with the reality because they're not the ones being targeted whatsoever. So that, I mean, that was really important for you to bring up, man, because that's reality.
Yeah, because that is reality, and that's how drug laws have been enforced. You know, it's basically keep it isolated from the majority culture, feed them a bunch of bullshit lines about how black people are criminals and how their culture is criminal culture, and then if they decide to have a pang of conscience, or if they decide to look at it from any other perspective, you know, that won't happen because they don't see it. They won't ever see it.
And they get to continue vilifying them and say, hey, these are people that can't follow the laws, you know? They deserve what they get.
Yeah. I mean, it's good,
all the while
it's
their
good
kids
that
are probably doing the same damn thing.
I mean, it's good, but I still think, man, you know, I really think that what you guys said, that it's going to be illegal for black people, I think that's probably what's going to happen. Because the cops can make up any bullshit fucking story that they want to about what they're going to arrest you for. They don't have to give a legitimate excuse. It's like that lady you were talking about who got shot and killed, you know, trying to help them capture the one guy. I mean, she put her neck out there on the line, and they going to throw her under the bus like that and run her name through the mud like that. And then they wonder why people don't like them. You know what I mean? It's because they have an enormous amount of unchecked power that they can use to go out and arrest you for stupid shit, like weed. And they use it all the time, and they do it to target minorities. And they know they do it, and they get up on TV, and they're like, oh, well, you know, these people are just criminals. No, bullshit. It's not these people are just criminals. You're avoiding the criminals, the real criminals, the violent criminals, in order to put numbers up there so that you look good when it's time to get reelected for sheriff.
No. That's exactly what it is. They just throw these arrest numbers out and think that somehow is a reflection of them keeping the community safe.
Yeah, when it's not.
Sometimes,
man.
It's violent society in the Western Hemisphere, but our communities are safe there. They're safe from weed. Most violent. 19 kids can get shot in a school, but we will arrest you for a dime bag. Make no mistake.
That's why sometimes,
ridiculous.
Like if you actually just like, because sometimes, you know, I don't know if you ever like just sit there and kind of like take in like what society is and what reality is, and like kind of like just kind of separate yourself from it, kind of like take a overview of it. And sometimes I think like we're living in a world where marijuana is illegal, but alcohol is legal. Like it's amazing to actually. I mean, like I know, like you know, like sometimes you just kind of get lost inside your life and just, you know, just do your daily shuffle and just go about with your daily business. But sometimes, man, I just take a minute to reflect and like, my gosh, man, this
basically
this
you had a "This Is America" moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, moments. I don't think those
moments,
those moments ever go away.
Yeah.
When you recognize that,
like you're surprised, but you're not surprised.
You're surprised, but you're not surprised. You recognize that, like, why are we prioritizing this issue? Why are we prioritizing this? It doesn't even make any logical sense.
It's amazing, man. It's amazing, though.
People don't deserve this kind of intelligence, and people don't deserve this kind of power. And they prove it. They proved it for the past 7,000 years, and they prove it up until today. I mean, they give themselves the ability to control the atom. They learn how to fly. They put shit in space. They grow food now at the rate that you couldn't even believe. One man can farm 200 acres of land by himself, and yet we still can't feed the poor. And yet we still don't take care of the weak. And we still don't care about the vulnerable. People don't deserve this shit. And it's gonna fall down. You know, people think that this whole thing is like, oh, you know, civilization. Civilization is 3 missed meals away from anarchy, period.
Damn. That's some truth, man. That's some truth.
But all right, fellas.
Thank you for calling in once again,
I'm gonna let that
Court,
go at
man.
that, man. Y'all have a good night. Sorry I had to get so sober on you.
We appreciate it, man.
Y'all take it easy. Y'all take it easy.
Somebody asked us about
3 missed meals away from anarchy, man.
I know that is crazy, man.
It's a devastating thought,
us,
man.
Who was that in the chat? Asked us about that's Jay Scott. Asked us if we saw the China story with Trump.
I don't know exactly what that is.
I know. Specifically, what you talking about, bro?
I said Trump golf course in India. Hold on, that's not China.
It's not China. So there must be multiple stories. So there might be multiple stories going on.
Moose Guy says, I want all drugs legal. I want the same damn thing. I want the same damn thing, man.
Especially, not just...
I don't care how harsh they are, man. Because at this point, it's like, when we have this conversation, it's like, okay, there's something like I keep bringing it back to, well, damn, I lost it now. What's the...
Crocodile?
No, the joint where you eat people's faces, though.
Bath sauce.
Bath sauce, though. I know we haven't, you don't really hear about that too much anymore. But it's like, man, that should not be legal whatsoever. But it's like at this point, man, we can't give them anything, man. Just decriminalize every single drug that is out there, man. I don't care what it is. And let's do our job as a society to educate our youth, educate our people, put in place some reform programs, rehabilitation. Let's do that as a nation instead of like locking people up for them trying different products or, them being down in life and, having mental problems or whatever the case, man. Decriminalize every single drug there is out there, man. There's no way they should be they should be forced to give up a certain number of years of their lives or months of their lives, whatever the case, because they tried a substance. Nah, man. Nah. Let people do what they want to do, man, and put in place programs to help them be better. That's it. That's it, man.
So it says apparently China loaned India 15 mil for an amusement park in India. That park will feature Trump golf course and hotel. You see, like when you don't divest, all this is just some country trying to do Trump a favor.
I think I did see something about that earlier today. Yeah.
Because again, he can definitely be manipulated.
Yeah, because somebody he should have divested. He should have divested, but he didn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That may look good to him, but again, at the end of the day, it's like it like on the surface it appears as if like somebody like Trump. Let's say I was in that position and I was getting broke off like that. Mm-hmm. Oh, we're gonna feature one of your golf courses. So on the surface, it makes it look like I'm making money for myself. Mm-hmm. But then like they can threaten to take that away. You know what I'm saying? They can definitely threaten to take that away. It actually makes you weaker. Mm-hmm. What else somebody say? Oh, somebody mentioned the gambling. You see, See, I don't know about that. I'm glad on one side, but then I know what that does. You know what that's gonna do, man.
What, the gambling, sports gambling?
The gambling. You know what that's gonna do. That is going to get some very important, very influential fat cats. I'm telling you,
you can't stress the word, can you?
These fat cats are going to get involved, and since it's legal, it's like they might try to influence like officials of the different sports. Mm-hmm. There might be more corruption because now you're going to have, there's going to be more of an incentive for the referees to get paid off, or coaches or players. Somebody may threaten players. Hey man, I got $10 million on this game. You don't do something, we know where your family live at. You know what I'm saying? Now the big play, I think that's more about the big money getting involved. Regular people, I see no problem with it.
I think I think it was the NFL that is calling on Congress to actually put something in place to
try to prevent that.
Yeah, to try to prevent that, because they're concerned about the image of the game and like the integrity of the game. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think the first state that's gonna come onto it is New Jersey, probably, because they already got everything in motion. South Carolina is actually one of the states that have passed some kind of, or they have made some kind of moves, because not every state has, but they're one of the states that have made some moves to like get down that path to be one of the states that accepts all kinds of sports gambling. But I think it's New York, New Jersey, I think maybe Pennsylvania, maybe, I'm not sure, but New Jersey seems to be the first one to join Nevada immediately. So it's gonna be interesting what happens, man. That's gonna be a lot of money to be made out there, man.
I was about to say, yeah, like, I'm cool with it. I'm just hoping that there's some things put in place that will prevent people with a high level of influence and money from kind of getting their fingers, into sports.
Yeah. Now we got to pay these NCAA players.
That should have came first.
Yeah, that should have came first, man. And we ain't talking about no $1 million salaries, man. We're talking about, man, let these students live, man. Let them live something. You know what I'm saying?
I honestly think it should be, they should somehow calculate the amount of hours they devote to their sport.
Yeah.
And let it be like comparable to some sort of wage. If you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I don't know. At this point, I think I'm good with the NCAA raking in most of the money, like way more than most of the money. I think I am good with that. What do you think?
What you mean?
I'm talking about if the players were actually paid.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm good with the NCAA making like a grip. You know what I'm saying?
But then I think the question becomes, like, how is that money distributed between players?
Like, they'd have to figure that out.
As somebody who was like averaging 25, 8, and 7 and starts and plays damn near 35 minutes a game, do you get that student athlete the same as somebody who is just riding the bench?
They would probably make it just like flat. I think they would make it flat, man, because it that might be just like how can you like what could you put in place? Like, okay, well, if you average 20 points or more, you get this. If you average 25 or more, then
you're gonna have mugs trying to politic for plays run for them.
Exactly.
Mugs trying to politic how the team operates. Not just them, their parents.
Yeah. So that's gonna affect the integrity of the game. Then that
affects the integrity of the game. But again, the integrity of the game has already been affected.
That's true. They
put themselves in this position. That's why
they did. I don't know how to get out of it, man, because it looks like the NBA too, especially when you're talking about basketball. It looks like the NBA is on their way to removing that like 1 year in college.
The one and done rule.
Yeah, they're gonna just accept people straight out, kids straight out of college coming. I think that's coming pretty soon. If not, it's not gonna happen this upcoming. The draft is gonna happen in a few weeks. I don't think it's gonna happen for the 2019 draft, but 2020, I think it's gonna be done in a way with, man. So the NCAA is gonna have to do something.
Yeah, because it's like they're.
Why the hell would you go?
Yeah, why would you go? It's like how you'd have a rule that prevents somebody from having the option or making a decision to make money. It doesn't. Where else in society does that exist? Where there's some sort of impediment that prevents you from trying to make money. Nobody ever says, "Well, you're not mature enough." Like that's a lame excuse.
I mean, we see it in football. And football is more so because you have to be 3 years removed from your graduation date. Football is a little bit different, even though I don't agree with it. I still don't agree with the football rule, but at least there's more of an excuse or more of a reason to put that in place because you're talking about like physically maturing.
But see, guess what though? That's self-apparent.
Yeah,
like, you can't if that is the issue, you don't need a rule to. I guess
exactly.
You don't need a rule to establish that issue. That issue is going to be physically apparent. Like if I'm not physically ready to go to the NFL, I won't make it.
But if you're a sophomore dominating,
if you are physically ready and you can make
it, you shouldn't be prevented from
exactly.
leaving.
So if you say, well, they're not physically ready, well, then that would be self-evident on a tryout.
Right.
That would be self-evident in some sort of workout.
And if they weren't ready, they probably wouldn't be drafted.
So do you think that like these scouts and these like people in charge of team personnel wouldn't like know that? Because they that's what they do to college level players who are actually qualified for the NFL. Right. They still do that. They do assessments. Are they physically ready? They don't just say, he played college, therefore he's physically ready. Let's pick him. Right. No, they go through like how much has he bench, how much is he squat, how much is he power, how much
significant
is he clean,
analysis,
how much is he deadlift, how much what is his vertical, all these things. They still give a physical analysis for players who are eligible and who have a superficially physical, I guess they have a superficially physical qualification.
So the league would know that, and the players would know that too, because if like I can understand that a player might be like, well, I'm ready, but they're not really ready, right?
That always happens.
Yeah, but there's going to be an analysis, and if that analysis comes back like you're projected to go in like the 7th round because you're not ready.
You're not ready.
You know what? I'm gonna stay in school. Yeah, somehow, more times than not, the right decision is gonna be made.
Magically, analysis doesn't go away because you give them the option. Yeah. Like the option doesn't, I guess, illustrate some sort of impending reality. Right. They still have to make the assessment. There has to be analysis put forth for each player.
Like it makes no sense. It makes no reason to hold people back like that, man. If they're ready to make money, let them make some damn money, man. All right, let me see. I'm trying to look at these Pennsylvania.
Somebody asked about the Pennsylvania primary, so we're looking that up right now.
Let's see. There was one race that was particularly interesting. There was a progressive run-in. I can't remember the damn.
I don't know if I agree with you, Will. I kind of do. I think the only reason why you want to abolish the notion of private property is because property has been exploited by a small group of people, and typically communities do not benefit from the wealth of that property. So I think the reason you don't like that is because of there's people out trying to exploit everyone. So I get where you're coming from. I wouldn't go that far in my own personal take. I would kind of have some sort of happy medium. I don't think we can do away with private property because then it might create a situation where you can't pass anything down. But I think since property in general, since land has been exploited, it kind of puts you on that defensive. And I can see why you would want that, you know what I'm saying?
And some it looks like most of these races are not over. Yeah. So numbers are still coming in. In the 7th, let me see. Yeah, in the 7th district, there's a progressive running Susan Wild. And right now she has 28% of the vote. There's a guy named John Morganelli who has 31% of the vote, but there's only 34% reporting right now. So it's like most of these races, they don't have the numbers in yet. So anything would just be premature to talk about right now.
No, I feel you, Will. I mean, if we didn't have, people out here getting exploited, if we didn't have an unequal distribution of property, this wouldn't even be a topic. But if
yeah. All right. Yeah. So maybe we'll talk about those Pennsylvania results on on Thursday because we're not gonna be able to do that right now. So look, we don't have any more callers. It's 10 o'clock, so I think we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah, because that's when it cuts off.
Yeah. So I do want to thank everybody for tuning in to this edition of Let the Madness Begin, LTMB Live. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all that contributed financially to the stream tonight. Gaillard, Aaron, Ninja X, and Jeremiah. Thank you very much. Thanks to all our patrons on patreon.com/LTMB. I keep wanting to say that backslash, man.
Because that's
it's just, it's like woven into you. You know, it's like, nah, it's slash LTMB. What else? Anything else we gotta highlight? Anything else?
I don't think so. There's always stuff we could.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, we still got some improvements to make. We gotta I think we're actually able to get the software now, so we just have to get comfortable with it, and we'll be able to, I'm not sure if that will help with the buffering, but maybe it will. It's possible. Because different settings,
what's taking all the load?
Yeah, that's true.
Is the equipment taking all the load? Is it taking on all the
maybe
the whatever, the graphics and whatnot? So.
Because the whole issue is like when it goes red, you don't see that it's red, but the whole issue is like it's saying it's not receiving enough bandwidth or something like that, and it's causing it to drop frames. But nothing's different throughout the whole stream. Nothing's different. The internet connection is hardwired, so it's and the speed is great. So like it could be the software.
Well, you know what? The weather was bad today too. That still does sometimes affects the internet, even if you do.
Yeah, if it's hardwired in.
Even if it's hardwired in and not like Wi-Fi.
But you can't explain that on other days because we see the same thing.
Yeah, I know.
See you reaching.
I don't know, man. I'm just not trying to go down the insane pathway.
We're being suppressed.
What you talking about? I didn't even say that, man. I didn't even say that.
Though I believe we have much to say, and though I believe we attack these issues, the right way, and we arrive at the truth, I don't believe we have that amount of influence.
No, yo. No. I love it when mugs be thinking they getting shut down. I'm like, man. Like how much, like they ain't scared of you. I'm like, if they was scared of you, they do what they did to the doggone that journalist over in the journalist that got killed.
That's true.
Damn, what's that? That wasn't Venezuela.
Nah, it was Malta.
Malta.
Yeah, it was Malta.
Yeah, that's what they do, man.
Yeah, car bomb, man. Like put something right up under your car, right?
If you was that scary, they coming and getting your ass.
Yeah. They're not trying to like make your stream buffer like for 5 minutes. They ain't doing that. That they are not doing, man. So, like I said, appreciate everybody. We hope that you will tune in to the next program on Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's it. Let the madness begin. Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah.